cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stones for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Carol Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than red counters and a slice of cake. But first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act. People like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pasco, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away. We will not be caught. Would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel.
A very warm welcome indeed to Guerrilla Cricket. Welcome to day 2 of
Three.
this fourth day 3, of course, day 3, thank you,
Great start.
of this fourth test. The bad news is it's raining in Sydenham. The good news is it's stopped in Manchester and we're set for a 1:30 start. Well, the follow-on is 297 for England. We've lost some time to weather, but that 297 and Sunday night safety still look a long way off. Why? Well, in 2 words, Stephen Smith. 211 he made, dropped by Archer on 60 and caught off a no ball off Leach for 118. Tim Payne made 58, but he was dropped by Roy on 9 and on 49 by Sam Curran. England's heads also dropped and Australia took advantage and finally declared on 497. So the equation is now simple. England have to bat and bat and bat. They're already 1 down. They've lost Joe Denley last night. So it really is something of a rear guard they're going to have to put together with Craig Overton and Rory Burns at the crease. Now, to my left, I have resplendent in an England cap, none other than Tim Part.
Absolutely. Hello, good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry.
Indeed, it is afternoon now, and Tim will be reading your tweets, Facebook messages, YouTube messages, and all other things. And to my right, mastering all things musical in
Mix
terms of jingle, mix mastering, the very familiar and welcome voice of Andy Ward.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So, Andy, let me come to you first. Is it just a rearguard, or do England have even a sniff of a chance of a win?
Well, if you're a betting man, you can get 50 to 1 on an England win. You can turn £1 into £51. Imagine what you would do with that on betway.com/GC Radio. In reality, well, you just play 1 ball at a time, don't you? And England will be looking to bat more in the style of the way they did in that second innings at Headingley, which again I should remind everyone, was not just all about Ben Stokes. It was also about Joe Root and Joe Denley soaking up a lot of balls, albeit Denley is no longer with us in the batting sense. He is still alive, as far as I know. But yes, to be looking for Joe Root and Ben Stokes to nail the innings together. Perhaps Jason Roy or Johnny Bairstow can, put an explosive score to maybe make England believe. But, as I said on Twitter last night, it's going to be a long day for England's batsmen, or maybe a short one.
Well, yes, and with Craig Overton at the crease, what are the odds, do you think, of him getting to a landmark of any kind?
Well, the bet we have for you is Craig Overton to be England's top batsman in this innings at 20-1. He does have a 3-run start, so factor that in.
Okay, same way to bet.
Yes, betway.com/GC Radio. It could happen. Stranger things have happened. You know, if it all goes wrong for England, 25 from Craig Overton could be the top score.
Well, yes. And Tim, I did a bit of a feeling yesterday England were collectively off the pace, and in Jofra Archer's sense, definitely off the pace. What do you think was going on there?
I don't know. I think, cricket is naturally this game that ebbs and flows, and I think in this modern world everyone expects everyone to be on the ball all the time, instant results and all that. I think they just had an off day. Plenty of people have it. We all have it when we play. I think the same could be said for professionals too. If a few things start going wrong, it can very quickly snowball, and they're under the microscope so much, maybe it's getting to them a bit. I don't know.
Well, you also have the thing, we're talking about this in the green room, and Dave Tickner brought it up on Twitter, that the same people who don't want Jofra Archer to be over bowled also seem to want Jofra Archer to bowl anytime he's not.
Yeah, that's it's the new toy syndrome, isn't it? It's there. You just want to play with it. Well, the teams are walking out onto the pitch. It's I can see. I wouldn't call it a clear blue sky.
It is by Manchester standards.
By Manchester standards, maybe it is. It looks like high and white. It's greyish, light grey clouds. Let's call it light grey clouds. Mitchell Starc and Travis Head are deep in conversation. Starc looks like he's going to take the first over of the morning. England trailing by 474.
So if the famous night watchman, Night Chicken, did his job last night, this man should be on strike.
He's got the drive of a champion from Surrey. His mustache is ugly. Got a shot finally. His name is Rory Burns.
And you are right, Rory Burns is going to be on strike. He's scratching out his mark. He's had 47 minutes at the crease so far. Mitchell Starc is going to be bowling from that Brian Statham end. I think they just call it a Statham end, don't they, Tim?
I presume so.
So it could be
I give him his first name anyway.
the Jason Statham end.
No. It could be that. That would be rather different.
Fewer characters on Twitter, isn't it?
Indeed. Now let me have a look. We have 3 slips and a gully in place behind the left-handed Rory Burns. Umpire Damasceno is standing, and past him comes Starc, and that's up, hits the hip, I think, of Burns, and it just drops down behind him on the leg side, and there's no run.
Yes, so let's give the bowler his jingle.
No swing since Cape Town. We think our jingles may be a tad quiet this morning. If the Bear and Knuckle are listening, that still seems to be the case. In comes Starc. That one lifts, and Burns leaves it well, actually. We saw quite an interesting discussion. I think, was it Nasser Hussain giving a bit of a masterclass, wasn't it? Feeling that Burns got, because he gets rather square, it's harder for him to drop his hands, and to a certain extent we saw it there. He did get his hands out of the way, but when you saw the shot from behind him, Andy,
because
you
that
could
ball,
actually see what he was
wasn't
saying.
at him, and the basics are very simple. If you're side on and turning your shoulder, then you're giving less area to hit than if you're face on with your chest.
You've just got marginally louder, I think, whatever Bear is engineering. Is in comes Starc left, this time with a high bat, and it goes underneath the raised bat handle of Burns and through to Tim Payne. Tim Payne, I thought yesterday, batted beautifully, and he did well to keep the company of
I mean, it's an
the
interesting
all-conquering
one.
Stephen Smith.
You do feel that if Tim Payne wasn't captain, he wouldn't be in the side. You think Alex Carey would probably be in the side?
Yes,
Yeah.
and he's been doing very nicely for. Where did Alex Carey go and play? He's been playing for Sussex, hasn't he? And been doing all right for them in more than one format. In comes Stark, slightly edged by Burns to Gully, but straight to Gully, and there is going to be no run. Plenty of joviality and also thick jumpers. Joviality and jumpers, the name of the game in
Yeah, it's
the
interesting.
slip.
We
in
don't-
the slip cordon.
All the wonderful things we can do with our technology, and we haven't quite managed to put numbers on the back of cable knit sweaters.
No, that's. I'm sure there is a way. We're seeing some kangaroos, I think, in the crowd.
I think they were giraffes.
Were they
for some-
giraffes?
They were
Oh,
having,
are they
having-
lanky giraffes?
They're having a giraffe, yes.
They are lanky giraffes. We've got. Hello, we've
Oh,
got some
great.
Knights Templars. That's
Ooh.
full, and a big shout from Stark.
It's got some bat on that, I think.
Yeah.
And,
Joel Wilson would have given it.
Kumar Dharmasena isn't giving it. The review timer is ticking. Tim Payne is jogging down to have a chat with Mitchell Stark.
Straight enough if there was no bat, but I just
Okay.
felt that there was.
And I think just a little high. I felt. Oh, you think? I thought it was just a wee bit high. You saw an inside edge. So
I'm
either
not-
way,
It's obviously difficult to tell. We don't get the sound. It just sort of. Let's have a look at it here.
we are having a look for you.
No, you're right. It's just a bit high.
High and possibly sliding down. We'll have a look.
closer.
Impact in line. Missing.
Just over.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless missing on
Indeed.
leg stump. So my unerring eye for umpiring decisions that the Bear knows and loves so well is bang on the money. Stark's in again over the left arm over the wicket. Nicely forward is Burns, and Stark fields off his own bowling.
Yeah, Stark bowling a much better line than he did last night when he bowled a couple of wayward overs right at the start of the innings. Yeah, you're talking about me being a little bit quiet. Certainly quieter than I was last time I was in, which was the end of the Headingley Test. I have come in. People will be reassured to know that I have come in to do the hard yards today and not just rocked up at the end.
When I said you were a little bit quiet, I didn't mean sort of attitudinally.
No, I know. but
Demeanour. I
even-
meant your microphone, but
Even so, I think everybody's volume was quite high towards the end of that game.
oh my! I was screamed like
Wear
a
louder shirts,
like a
Andy.
I don't know what, a pig in a poke or whatever screams very loudly. Oh dear, I'm chucking my notes everywhere. Tim's having to rescue them for me. Thank you,
It
Tim.
was like a horror film, which it was for Australia.
Well, yes, it was an extraordinary afternoon. I mean, you just
It's Hazelwood gone.
you don't see those very often. Anyway, it is, as you rightly said, going to be Josh Hazel. We need to catch up on some tweets.
Indeed,
Who's joined
indeed.
us, Tim?
Let me just jingle everyone up
It's all
first,
right,
because
yeah.
I've got to jingle Hazelwood first.
This is a jingle for Josh Hazelwood. This is a jingle.
He's bowling to the night watchman, Craig Overton. Overton nicely behind that. There's 3 slips, no gully. There's a point. Mid off, mid on.
Yes, and
A
it's
man down at long leg.
this man, England's erstwhile number 3.
In a test that's day and night, and Piggy scoring without hesitation. I know we'll be alright with Craig Overton.
Ironically, that's of course Men at Work, an Australian band that's based on.
Down under, men, or yep. Come from a land down under. Turns at the top of his mark. There's Hazelwood. Overton has his collar turned up. And he's forward nicely, and he's going to get himself off the mark this morning.
Come back for 2 maybe. as
Yeah,
well.
take
There
him
we
on
go.
to 4. They are going to come back for 2. So excellent running. Just pushed away into the offside.
He's
And,
gunning for that top score already, isn't he?
Away it went. Yeah, well, what did we say? 20 to 1.
20 to 1, yep.
20 to 1.
I'd take that.
That's to get a 50 or to be top
To
scorer?
be England's top scorer, yes.
Yeah,
Done it once, of course, already in his career.
He has done. You're absolutely right. He played that very nicely indeed. Of course, he's got long legs, so he can get forward, eyes right on top of the ball, and he basically just dabbed it away through cover, and got 2 runs as a reward. So Hazelwood has none for 5. He's about to bowl the 3rd ball of his first over of the day. He's right arm over, pass to the edge, taking the edge,
Gone.
gone.
No,
What's that then?
never mind.
And that, if you don't put that money on Craig Overton, and ignore what we told you in this instance. Overton had a prod, took the edge, taken at second slip, and England have lost their 2nd wicket.
Well, I was just about to say that, as I understand it, his brother is perhaps slightly higher regarded as a bowler, but Craig Overton offers much more with a bat. But
We
only
often
2 runs.
offer 2 runs more.
2 runs
Yeah.
and
than he had last
3
night.
balls this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just enough movement, just enough nibble. You kind of expect that early on.
I'm not sure that even did anything. It was just played inside the line.
He just didn't really play it down the line, possibly.
While Sky are appeasing the advertisers, shall we say hello to some people on Twitter?
Please do.
Who have we got? Messi Jez joins us. He says theme tune is playing, clearly with the man who expects it to be all downhill from here. Yep, quite right. Chris Wallace says afternoon, lads. Afternoon, Chris. Pirate Badshaw says afternoon, comrades. Hello. And Jay Grover says afternoon, all. The late start meant I could have a posh sandwich and the cappuccino for a leisurely dinner. I felt almost civilised. Hooray. What was in the sandwich, Jay Grover? Please don't leave us wondering what was in between your bread. And Messi Jez, he had a problem with GPL, but all entries are now restored. He is satisfied once again. We aim to please, Messi Jez.
Excellent.
And that's going to be open till 2:30 today.
Yes, it is. 1:30 to, well, obviously 1:30 because that's when we started, to 2:30 if you want to have a guess at how many runs are going to be scored during the course of the full day. A day which may extend to 7:30 UK time.
And there's a £122 jackpot in there already.
There is indeed. Joe Root, the new man at the crease, he's going to be facing the successful Josh Hazelwood, who's claimed the first victim, and he's off the mark straight away, tickled round the corner. And Root will get himself a single. He'll be happy about that. I mean, clearly, even, Andy, if it's a bit of a rear guard, you still want to keep that scoreboard ticking.
Absolutely.
Stagnation is often your worst enemy, even when you're looking to
I mean,
stay
they've got
in.
to get to 300. You know, this is in a reduced game. It is one time where teams might break the modern habit of not enforcing the follow-on. So, I mean, England really just want to try to get out of this game still level going into the last one. I mean, if England, I was saying to Tim on the way in, if England draw or even win this series, it should go down as a robbery, but they've still got a chance to do it. Anyway, this man's just come in, back by accident or design, to number 4.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a pict, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
Well, the incumbent opener, Rory Burns, is going to be facing Hazelwood. Ooh, and Burns ducked down onto his haunches. It was slightly short, but it didn't really get up that much. And really probably just about grazed his helmet on the way through. Just missed it.
Yeah, Joe Denley was hit yesterday by a ball that only went a foot over the stumps or so. He tried to duck it, and it wasn't a good look.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. We've been joined, by the way, by a number of people on Crick Tracker. I don't know, Tim, if are you all over Crick Tracker, or do you need me
I am.
occasionally to let people know?
Potentially. I might have
Give me a shout.
Knackle might have left me with 2 Facebook feeds, so never mind.
Okay, well,
So
don't
we
worry.
can get
Hazelwood's in, and Burns takes the bat inside of that. There's a bit of excitement from Tim Payne and
Did he?
Warner at first slip. I think he did. Yeah,
I'm
I
going to give him
think
the
he
benefit of the doubt there.
did. I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. 26-4-2 England.
But
successful over for Josh Hazelwood, and that
one of
too-
those 2 wickets, sorry Tony, is the night watchman, so do bear that in mind.
Well, you can. I'm going to say hello to a few people on Crick Tracker. Krishnan KR says England win. That's very optimistic, but
50 to 1.
we appreciate it.
Probably a bit more now.
William says yes, please win. Chandan Gawas going for a draw. Gowda is going for a draw. Not a bad shout, probably, I would say, at the moment.
Well, the odds on the draw this morning were 10 to 11. Again, a less speculative bet, but you are basically betting on the weather as much as anything else.
Chandan Gowda also says 50-plus score for Root and Stokes. Well, they're going to need to, as Stark continues the attack, and that's flicked off again off his legs by Root. That's down to long leg. There is a man there, so they will just take a single. Cherry Green is with us. And Wazim Raza Awan says Australia win. And that is probably in the order. What's the sequence of likelihoods? Draw, Australia win, England win, in that order? Or
Marginally, I think, yes. A draw in Australia, obviously the 2 front runners.
a couple more wickets this morning, in the first session, let's say now, because I must stop calling it this morning, is going to change that view, I would imagine. So England really do need to knuckle down
Well, they need someone to play that stickable innings and make a 100 or a big 100, and you'd think it would either be one of these two or Stokes.
Rory Burns is tapping his mark, squaring up and leaving this outside of his off stump from Mitchell Stark, who's bowling about the higher end of the 80s, nearly 89 miles an hour. Burns with that curious sort of crab-like stance,
I'm
which he
not
then
sure
straightens
he
up.
did leave that one either.
I seem to there's a trend here. I'm being very kind to the batsman, and you're being quite critical.
I think he's pulling his bat away after the ball's gone past.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he has 15 off 34. Joe Root new to the creases on 2. We're having a quick look at the England balcony with those who are brave enough to sit outside rather than behind the plexiglass up there. As Stark is in, forward is Burns, pushed away into the onside, mid-wicket is fair to field, there's no run. There's woolly hats and zipped up padded coats are the order of the day, so it's clearly pretty autumnal.
Well, I did see Joss
in
Butler there,
Manchester.
all wrapped up, and I was going to say, you know, he's maybe a southerner not used to this northern weather, but he does, of course, play for Lancashire, technically.
Well, he does, he absolutely does. He's played
Allegedly.
for them.
Our friends on Twitter are similarly down on England's chances.
Oh,
Adrian
dear.
Lowe says, good afternoon, chimps.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, team, I got a bad feeling about this.
In comes Stark, left arm over. Ooh, and Burns again rocks his head back. And actually, that is a pretty good example of what the discussion was about earlier with that stance he has. Only this time he was able to arch his back and do a limbo, what I call a limbo leave. Obviously not down to how low can you go, but bent his back far enough backwards to stay out the way of that one.
Also have James Humberston. Hello, Humbers. Just wondering whether to stay up listening to Guerrilla Cricket all night, or whether England cricket might give me nightmares either way.
Stay with us, James.
Yeah.
We always want your company, and you just never
It
know.
will turn into a fever dream before long, don't worry.
Stark is in. That was a good ball, and Burns was on the walk, actually, forward to meet him. Looked very solid and compact in his defence of that. 27 for 2, 470 the deficit.
We have an answer to Jay Grover's sandwich.
And now you're just filling.
Brie rocket prosciutto with chili oil.
Ooh,
Fancy.
very nice. That is rather fancy. It's a bit that's a gourmet
He
sandwich.
says
That's not just
cafe culture is alive and thriving in Sheffield.
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
Beautiful, nice,
Very metrosexual.
nice city. Burns turns now in that strange way of his, and he's driven this,
Shot.
and he's driven it through cover. Extra cover is going to go after it. He won't get anywhere close. I think it's Travis Head, but he doesn't need to bother. It's into the boundary sponge and 4 runs. Yeah, just erred in his length enough, didn't he there, Mitchell Stark? And Rory Burns was, everything was, there was so much to admire in that shot.
No appreciable swing so far,
No.
although hasn't really been pitching it up until that one.
Yeah, he just angled the bat enough, right under the eye line. Our friends the Beatles are up there now. That we saw some film of them the other day, didn't we? If it's the same Beatles, it may be a different set of Beatles, but
Maybe someone else
the
hired the same.
the ones we
suits.
saw were well, they needed to have dried out, I would imagine, because we saw
And the water's just going to slide off those kind of silky.
them sat at the very top of that temporary stand, didn't we? And they looked absolutely frozen.
like the Beatles when they were on the roof.
Yes, of the Apple Studios. Rory Burns, of course, is serious. 133 and 11 at Edgbaston, 9 and 7. Not so good for him at Headingley.
53 and 29 at Lords.
52 and 29 at Lords. Thank you. So
Diminishing
he's,
returns.
slightly diminishing returns. Joe Root is on strike. He's going to be facing Hazelwood, of course. Hazelwood is and that one
Played at that one.
He played and looking for the drive. Frankly, it was a little bit wafty this early on. Hazelwood stops at the end of his run up and eyeballs Root.
Now there was some
And,
talk
not
before the
surprisingly.
last test about Hazelwood. They're doing it now, kind of figuring out Root by bowling just full of a length, and Root kind of being not really getting forward.
Which is
Now, whether
precisely what
he's-
happened there.
Yes, well, whether he's really put that to bed in that. He didn't. It was 80 he got in the last game. He did bat
Well,
a lot
he's
of balls.
dismissed Root twice for an average of 10.5. So you could say that Hazelwood does have the wood over Root. And Root leaves this, and in the age-old parlance it was a well-judged leave.
Is he leaving
just
that on length,
outside.
do you think?
I think he must have left it on length because he had his bat raised high. It nipped back in and, well, it didn't miss the top of Root's off stump by that much. And Hazelwood's reaction with both hands raised. And again, a little stroll down the wicket to
It wasn't the
let
worst.
Root feel his presence.
It wasn't the worst leave we've seen this morning. That was Nasser Hussain. If you're watching Sky, and Mitchell Johnson was bowling to Nasser Hussain, and they talked for about 20 minutes, and then Johnson went up and bowled, and Hussain left it and slammed into his off stump.
Warner, Smith and Labuschagne, the three slips down, and this one again is left.
And Josh Hazelwood has his hands on his head. Joe Root has a flicker of a smile, perhaps. Now, we didn't see much of that elfin cheeky grin yesterday, did we, Tim? He looked like a troubled man, did Joe
That
Root?
one didn't go over the height of the stumps.
No, that was just, well,
I mean, it's four and
It's
a
a
half.
sign.
It's 4.5 stumps.
it's a sign of a man
gone
who
through.
knows where his off stump is.
You know, you can know where your off stump is, as Nasser Hussain did, and not quite realise the ball's
That the
swinging.
ball's going to smack into it. Yeah. Root, so he's still on 2 off 5. Hazelwood has 1 for 6. He got the first wicket this morning. That of Craig Overton. He's right arm past Murray Erasmus, and forward comes Joe Root, pushes to mid on, no run.
Of course, to be a bit nitpicky, it's like strikers knowing where the goal is. The goal and the off stump are always in the same place. What you really mean is you know where you are.
Yes. This is very true. You have another expression that drives you up the wall, doesn't it? I can't remember which one it is.
It's
Something about double bluffing.
Yes,
is it?
yes. When you set the short ball, set the field for a short ball and bowl the full one, they say it's a double bluff.
Yeah.
Even some of the actual real commentators are actually starting to say it's not a double bluff now. I think Key said the other day.
Well, they might have been listening to you.
Perhaps
That's probably the reason.
It's my influence.
Learning from the master. And so Hazelwood turns. He's going to be in to Joe Root, and Root is on the drive this time. This is a way through extra cover. There's a man after it. He's got a fighting chance of getting there, actually. He will! It was Matthew Wade. He put in some yards there, didn't he? It means that...
I think they ran for.
I think they did run for.
Wow, that's
if they
some going.
did, well, if they did, which we feel they did, then bad luck Matthew Wade, because he went hell for leather after that. Gave it absolutely everything he'd got in the
Short little
100
legs.
metre with short legs, and it's going to cost him 4 runs
It's gonna
anyway. He
gain
might as well
nothing.
not have bothered.
Does that still count as a 4 jingle?
If you run 4,
yeah,
yes,
I guess
if
so.
it's still 4.
All right then.
Hazelwood into Root. Oh, and that one kept low, actually. Root had sort of gone up onto tiptoe and was looking to defend that probably about 3/4 of the way up his off stump. And it didn't get more than a couple of inches off the ground there, Tim, did it?
No,
Bit of a worrying sign.
Here's a question: if it's an all-run four, does it go in the fours column on the scorecard against the
I
batsman?
don't know.
If Jules Farman is listening, the wonderful
Which
Jules,
surely she must be.
which of course she
Of course she is.
Of course she is. But she's an expert scorer.
Excellent.
Can you tell us, Jules Farman,
Or indeed any other scorers.
or indeed any other scorers who are listening? She just happens to be the only one I know
Broadchurch here.
personally is a scorer. Any
but
scorers listening,
I'll tell you what.
tell us the answer.
I bet if you run a 2 and then there's 4 overthrows, it doesn't go in your 6s.
No, that's a good point.
Well,
But
okay.
It shouldn't do.
So what was in the World Cup when the ball hit Stokes' bat? It went for 5, did it?
Well, that was the whole controversy. He got 6 when some people said he should only have got 5.
How is that entered? Is that entered as partly extras? And anyway, I'll tell you in a minute. In comes Stark. Ooh, and Burns.
No,
I'm
it's
going to ask Andy what he
It's
thought
all
about that
goes
one.
to the batsman.
It's
don't
definitely
they?
the batsman's runs, but again, I don't think that counts towards your tally of 6s.
No, but maybe we can infer that because there's no 5 column, that it won't get put down in the fours. I don't know. Let's
Well,
just
otherwise,
find a
if you think
scorer.
about the limiter, that one was through to Payne, by the way. If you think about it, the only other way to score it surely is just to mark it down as. Well, no, you don't.
Well, yes,
you don't mark it down as
do
4
put
singles.
6.
It's a 4.
Yes, it is. But again, has Joe Root
Has Joe Root scored a
look
4
on
if he
in
ran them?
Crick Info and see how many 4s Joe Root has hit.
That would be the way to do it. Good point. I wonder if that one is just pushed down into the onside by Burns. It was a good ball from Stark. Just reared up at
Knuckles
Burns a
going to
little
tell
bit.
us.
There you go.
Naught. It doesn't count. Yeah.
You're making gestures like a lobster going into a bar.
Yeah. No, and
At the start of a joke.
Derek Willis has just come through on Twitter and said Crick Info didn't record it as being in the fours column.
Okay.
For what it's worth. Thank you, Derek.
Well, that's good to know.
think,
Thank you.
I think that's reasonably consistent.
It is.
I
it
was
makes
going to
sense.
say I haven't seen them all run 4 for a while without overthrows.
Stark.
And we
from-
should.
Stark from the Statham end is going to be bowling to Rory Burns. Oh, and that was looking for the full Yorker, and Burns dug that out very well. It's away to point, and there's no run.
And we should believe Derek because he has a blue tick on Twitter.
That is a sign of
Possibly not for scoring, but I'll take it anyway.
honesty, integrity. What else?
Things,
Absolutely.
yes.
When you're ready for a heated debate, we can have one thanks to Jonah. On
Oh, right.
Twitter. He wants to discuss the Bradman-Smith comparisons to being floated vociferously on Aussie TV, and his opinion is that Bradman wasn't cheating. See you next Tuesday, so we can discuss that in a minute.
That's quite an interesting thing. Thought as in comes Stark, and up onto his toes goes Burns once again. It's pushed away to short cover, and once again there is no run.
As far as we know, because there weren't 15 cameras on Don Bradman.
Well, that is true. If you look at the most Ashes centuries, Don Bradman had 19, Jack Hobbs 12, Steve Smith 11 so far, Steve Waugh 10, Wally Hammond 9, David Gower 9 actually.
There you go.
So if you want to just look at pure tons made in Ashes on volume, Don Bradman holds the key at the moment. In comes Stark. Oh, and he has Burns looking to drive that, and the ball moved away, and even Burns sucks in his cheeks and realises that that was a coat of paint away from being curtains for him, but he got away with it.
Well, the comparisons would be on 2 grounds, I think. One is their idiosyncratic styles of batting. Bradman apparently did something quite similar with his backlift, where it looped out and came back in. And the other is purely statistically. I can't remember the details, so I'm not going to commit to the details, but there's certainly above a certain number of above 5,000 runs in Test cricket, I think. Bradman's way ahead of everybody, obviously, and Smith is way ahead of everybody else.
In comes Stark, and again this beats Burns, hook, line and sinker outside that off stump. Those figures I gave you, by the way, were most Ashes centuries for batsmen who've had a minimum of 75 innings. So the Don played 37 matches for his 19 centuries, Jack Hobbs played 41 matches for 12, Steve Smith 26 matches for 11, Steve Waugh 45 for 10, Wally Hammond 33 for 9, and 38 matches for David Gower for 9.
Roger Melly has joined us. He says his traditional good afternoon and bollocks. He has resolved to say bollocks more often today.
So is there a reason for that? It was Hendo was trying to coach Roger into cobblers rather than bollocks.
Well, he's gone with the S word.
Hendo, maybe because Hendo's got a day off.
Yes, on what Andy said, Roger Melly also said, speaking of things that shit me, I hate it when people say they're going to double check something when they have yet to check it once.
Oh, you and Andy can join the Pedants Club on that one.
Yes.
As this one is left outside of off stump by Root, as Hazelwood has taken up the account. 1 for 10 for him.
The thing that really annoys me is when people say could of instead of could have. That
Should
just-
have, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
That's just ignorance of grammar.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. We're having a look at the graphic. What's this telling us? Stark's wickets and where he's taken them. 15 have been pretty much on a fullish length, which is not that surprising. I think that's this year, and presumably red ball only. Did you happen to catch that, Andy?
I'm sure it would have been red ball only, certainly.
But for a man who gets the ball to swing as he does, then fullish is
Well,
not
it
that
wouldn't have been this
surprising.
year, because this is
Well,
his
that's
first
true.
game.
Yeah. And in Ashes games, thank you. Oh, that was the 2015 Ashes. Okay, thank you. Forward comes Root, by the way, to Hazelwood. Just pushes it down in front of him. 35 for 2. 462 the deficit. As Andy said earlier, remember one of those two is a night watchman, before you get too panicked and have feverish nightmares. But England really do need to knuckle down, take their ones and twos, but crease occupation is everything for them right now, as Hazelwood is in. Up onto his toes goes Burns. Thought about a single, but it was pushed away to cover, and Joe Root was very quick to suggest to him with an upraised arm that wasn't a good idea.
I think I might have to break Jay Grover's heart now if I'm allowed to do that.
Oh, don't do
Jay's
that. Well,
unbreakable.
we'll be ready to help him if
Yeah,
he needs help.
He wondered, did Tim just say nice city in reference to Sheffield? He's so happy he's welling up in all his years of listening.
No one's ever said.
He's never said anything but
I don't
derision and
think you
contempt.
said that.
A-
No.
Actually, what I said was, it's nice to see Sheffield has a cafe culture.
Ah.
Because he's then offered, if I ever want to come up to Sheffield way, he'll treat me to a posh cafe sandwich and then a pint and a fight.
Here comes Hazelwood over the wicket, and Joe Root dabs this wide of gully. 2 men go after. Actually going to go all the way. There's no third man, and Joe Root will get 4.
Last time I was in Sheffield, I was kicked in the shins by a 6-year-old.
Was he offering to mind your car?
I was up for football. It was Wednesday, I think, and
It was a Wednesday or Wednesday you were watching.
It was Sheffield Wednesday.
It was Sheffield Wednesday.
And I had this kind of tap on my shin. I thought, that's odd. And there was this little kid kicking me in the shins, holding onto his father's hand, and his father's going, "Well done, son. That's the way."
Any reason he picked on you?
dear.
Did you look
Well,
like you wanted to be beaten up by a
I was
6-year-old?
obviously rather foolishly in the time when I still used to wear my away shirts.
Ah, there you go then. Hazelwood 1 for 14. Joe Root's on to 10 off 12. Hazelwood is in past Murray Erasmus. That was going down leg. Root, I think, was when he got very squared up. He might have been thinking about trying to turn it round a corner, or at least backward a square. Didn't lay any bat on it, but it was definitely going well down leg, and there was no appeal. But it got him, and it was also quite high, but it got him into a right old tangle, didn't it?
I haven't been to Sheffield. I'd love to go. So Jay, if I have to fight you, I don't know who'd win. Maybe we could work that out.
There's only one way to find out.
I have been to football at Hillsborough, and I say of the many grounds I've been to, it is one of the least welcoming, to be honest.
Yes,
Sorry,
I found
Jay.
the same. Yeah.
As this one is wide of the off stump
I do kind
of
of
Root and through to Tim Payne.
I do kind of want to go now, but in kind of the same way that people used to go as tourists to watch the Crimean War.
Used to go as
You could do. You could. There were hotels that you could go and watch the fighting in the Crimea. Believe it or not.
That's a dreadful, awful, horrible thought.
Soon to be coming back.
Wasn't the charge of the Night Brigade the Crimean War?
Yes, absolutely.
You mean you just sort of basically sit on your hotel balcony like you do, I don't know, at the Point here or the Hilton in Southampton when you're watching cricket? Here you're just watching
the guns.
You probably don't need to go though. There's probably some Russian video feed you can watch remotely from your bedroom. Anyway,
Imagine now you'd have commentary as well nowadays, wouldn't you, with expert pundits.
Well, you practically do in America.
What is that lad with the cannon doing? He's got them to the right of him and to the left of him. And he's still carrying on. Anyway, Stark is carrying on too. He's into Burns, who pushes us away into the onside, and there is no run. 39 for 2. 458 the gap. 19 to Burns, 10 to Root, and the Telegram lad, Knackle, has brought in a message. What was the message?
So, reasons to be cheerful. Joe Root averages more at Old Trafford than at any ground where he's played more than one test. So that's 526 in 8 innings, average for 105.2 with 103 50s, including his 254 against Pakistan in July 2016.
That'll boost your average.
We'll do reason to be fearful after Mitchell Stark has bowled him out now.
Well, Stark is in, and that's very full. In fact, it's a full toss.
There we go.
And Burns just strokes it majestically through point for 4 runs.
And reason to be fearful. Reason to be fearful. No one has dismissed Joe Root more often than Josh Hazelwood's 6 times.
Yeah, we were saying that earlier, and so he's played 4, I think, at Old Trafford, hasn't he, Joe Root? Just over 5,000 runs at 100.
Old Trafford, 8 innings, 526 runs.
And he does average over 104, 105.2. That's including this innings.
I see.
Before this match it started off at 104, and then that 254 in
Change
2016.
of boots for Mitchell Stark.
Yeah,
I
Mitchell
think.
Stark is having a change of boots. That's not necessarily good news so early in the proceedings. Maybe he's got, I don't know, a pair of galoshes to put on over his over his existing ones. He'll be getting his socks wet. His mum won't be happy.
Knackle had a bit of space left on the A4 piece of paper. I'm brandishing, you'll see.
Okay, yes.
It says he's wading into the Bradman Smith. So most Ashes tons, Bradman 19, Hobbs 12, Smith 11. Most Ashes tons in England, Bradman 11, Steve wore 7, Smith 6, Border 5. And the top by an Englishman is F.S. Jackson with 5.
Ah. Well, again, yeah, I mean, Steve Smith, of course, hasn't had the longevity yet of the Don. He certainly has the stickability of the Don.
He's catching up in runs, of
Well,
course. I mean, of course, they didn't play anywhere near as many games at that time.
He also has the aura of the Don in that everybody is thinking about how on earth do they get him out. And as Stark is in, that one's flicked off his legs. It was full. It was played backward a square. There is a man there on there coming around from long leg. I think it is Hazelwood. And it will net 2 more runs. It wasn't Josh Hazelwood. Who was it actually down there?
Well, in any case, I've been re-watching the old Bodyline Australian TV series on YouTube recently.
Is that the one where none of them look like they can actually play cricket?
It's not that bad, actually,
okay.
compared to some I've seen. And it is a mixture of some things that are accurate and some things that are not. But there's a bit of quite an annoying spell in it where they keep going, oh, the trouble with that Bradman is he's just too principled, and all this kind of thing.
In comes Stark. Going to be bowling to Burns. Burns squeezes that from the bottom of his bat to gully, and they won't run. The bear is looming in literally across the screen at the moment.
Yep.
We are going to have a change of staff. The boss, the main man, the king of the hill, Knackle is here, and he's brought the bear. He's brought the bear with him.
You beat me to that one.
So that'll all be exciting. I got so excited I've just dropped my phone. Stark is going to be in again. Left arm over. Once again worked nicely off his hip by Burns. They've taken 1. They'll come back for 2. They will leave it as that. Once again, that long leg lopes in to field.
Dare I say Burns is looking reasonably comfortable?
Oh, I think that combined reaction is don't say it, but it's too late now.
I just did, yeah.
That stable door has been opened. You can't now shut it. 47 and Knackle's pretending to be a horse. 47 for 2. 450 the deficit has been reduced to Burns. 27, route on 10. Stark's going to be bowling the last ball of his 6th over. And Burns does lean back, let this through to Tim Payne. So at 47 for 2, we will have a little change in the commentary seats.
Fidel Castro, Lenny Pascoe, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Meehan, Austin Ian, Guerrilla Cricket.
Yes, England are 47 for 2. And what do you reckon to the first half hour now?
It was a decent delivery that got Craig Overton just lunging forward, got a sort of half forward to a decent delivery from Josh Hazelwood. But it is a good pitch, and Root and Burns are batting like it's a good pitch.
Yeah, I was reading the papers last night, or particularly my paper of choice, Tim.
Yep, Hazelwood in, bowling to Joe Root, who just knocks it out into the leg side to mid-on, and there is no run there.
There's a lot of doom and gloom about how England, and they did, you were right, they had a bad day. But I do think the pitch is quite decent for batting. Of all the pitches so far in this series, it has done the least, I'd say.
Yeah,
especially for the seamers.
I'd agree with that.
Both in the air, and off the pitch.
What this one's doing that some of the others haven't is it's turning not just out of the footmarks, but off the main part of the pitch. We saw it for Leach. I'm sure we'll see it for Lyon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Lyon's the first change.
I mean, we've seen one keep low today, but Joe Root seems comfortable leaving it on line and or length. Hazelwood in again to Root, who just blocks solidly behind it, straight back to Hazelwood, who's grimacing. Bit of swing there, he thinks. Joe Root smiling wryly.
A little hint of in-swing, but quite gentle. You were talking about the Bodyline series just now. It is worth remembering that Don Bradman averaged 56.57 in that series with 103 50s. So we're talking about, neutering the great Don only up to a point.
So I just said that as 103 50s. He scored 103 50s.
In 8 innings. Yes, 100.
That's just how good he was.
Yes. And scored at 4.5.
Defy the laws of statistics and physics.
And he scored at 4.5 and over.
Hazelwood in again with his familiar trundle. Right arm over. Root just thinks about it, but withdraws the bat well in time. Hazelwood smiles again and has a little chat. Root, again, little impish grin and gets on with the job.
Yeah, a couple of things about Stephen Smith on Twitter. Chris Paul, say Withybush Hospital, says, what makes Smith even more annoying is that he seems quite nice when interviewed. And Craig Nutley says, I always rated Smith as a sportsman. Since the ball tampering affair, I grudgingly rate him as one of the best I've ever seen, no matter how awkward he is to watch. Sorry about raising the ball tampering issue. I'm South African, but acknowledge quality when I see it. And Jonah Jones says, just heard the biggest rubbish on Aussie radio today. They were trying to start a religion based on Steve Smith. Apparently, he is a god.
Oh, God.
And we just seen Lyon trying to warm up.
Right. Hazelwood in again, right arm over, just down the leg side. Payne makes a mess of it, and that will be one extra. Oh, yes, they thought about the second, but no, the man's on it quickly. Payne muffed that a bit, and that gone down the leg side, down to fine leg for one extra, one leg by. I'm sorry, one by.
Yeah, a little hint of swing, and again swinging after it past the stumps, which we saw quite a bit yesterday. Get through some tweets. Imagine SallyR56 says the blue tick on Twitter indicates honesty and integrity. The algorithm has failed then. Everyone in the Trump family has a blue tick. Glad I don't have one on that basis. Brian Barish says, re-war spectating. Early battles of the US Civil War, 1861 to 1865, had people coming out to watch it too. When it became clear that the war was more bloody and acrimonious than believed, it stopped pretty quickly. The 19th century was weird.
Yes, it was. Not that I remember it. Hazelwood at the top of his mark again. He comes in, Burns with his strange gait, and that's short just into the body. Burns solidly behind it, knocks it back down the pitch to Josh Hazelwood.
John Perry says, I've got to band the drum for Sheffield a bit here. Lovely knives and forks. And also
Great steal.
Also
Great
the greenest city in the UK, about 60% parks. Bramall Lane hosted both an Ashes Test and an FA Cup final, and 6-year-olds don't kick you in the shins there. Jay Grover says, proper heartbroken. Also, Andy, if you got battered by a Wednesday fan, thou nesh as fuck. Pride Bramall Lane. It's welcoming, and the Blades are known for their warm and cuddly embraces.
I'm not familiar with Nesh. Is that some local speak? Hazelwood in again. Right arm over to Burns. That's down the leg side again. Payne does much better this time. Full length diving stop. Doesn't hold it, but just knocks it down to the turf, and there is no run there.
And that is us up to date on Twitter. Keep them coming in.
Do tweet away.
On our own Facebook feed, Mubashir Kushk says Burns out twice. Sajid Ali Kushk says Root out and Burns out. So some pleas for wickets from our friends on facebook.com/Gorilla Cricket, and on Cricket Tracker. Samuel Huck says, hi, I'm in Qatar watching cricket. Krishan Kayar says, England win. Linto Joseph says hi. Decent Rajput says Smith, beautiful player, and says hello, and how are you guys? Well, we're very good. Deepak Devasi says, I want to see match. Sadly, we don't have those kind of rights. Mahesh Agarwal says nice, and Warren Davis says hello from Buffalo, New York, as we have a change from the Brian Statham end.
Bowling for as the Bear finds the jingle. I'll say this on Smith. I think even in the year since the incident, shall we say, he's opinion of him has softened. I think in time he'll that incident will be seen as a shame rather than the defining thing of his incident.
And rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a nonsense.
It was a wild overreaction based on a completely false sense of Australian sporting morals.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Let's have a jingle.
Paceman Pat, and his baggy green cap. Early in the morning, just before the warm-up, he has to pull out with a dodgy back.
Hit Rick Carman!
Cummins in there, full ball to Joe Root, who just drives it slightly on the up, straight to mid-off though, and there is no run there.
Yeah, we did see Lyon warming up, but the first change is Cummins. Stark bowled all right, I think, this morning. Much better length and line than he did bowled yesterday. Hasn't really got that much swing. The odd short ball, which Rory Burns actually played quite well. I think they were talking, the analysts before play started were talking about Burns getting squared up to the short ball, but I think it's easier with the left armour.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, you don't have to turn yourself around, do you, to face the guy coming from that angle.
No.
It's straight in your
Cummins in
line.
again, short, cuttable, but Joe Root wisely decides not to play that at all.
Jonah Jones says, whatever happened to reverse swing? Well, you don't tend to get reverse swing in the first sort of few overs. We did see a little bit for England late yesterday. The pitch is quite abrasive, although obviously the outfield will be quite soft with all the rain that there's been. But yeah, we will see it, and we have seen it quite a bit, I think, in this series and previous recent series.
Although also, perhaps coincidentally, less reverse swing since they stopped putting zips on trousers.
Yes, quite. But every team in the history of cricket has tried all of those tricks.
Well, exactly. That's why the overreaction was so.
Exactly. Pat comes again, right arm over. It's so slightly short. Joe Root does have to play it this time. An inside edge down into his boot, I think. Some minor ooze from the slip cordon, but nowhere near the stumps, I think. We'll see from the replay here. Yeah, he just got on top of it nicely, but the bat wasn't very firm grip, and it just jagged back and rattled the bat, meaning the ball went, oh, well, actually that was closer than it
Bounced off his boot.
Bounced off his boot, and could have very easily deflected on the stumps, but he survives and looks particularly unflustered.
A little bit of movement in off the seam from Pat Cummins.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Josh Hazelwood's still on next over and Stark's been pulled, because Hazelwood has looked better this morning. Cummins top of mark, in again, right arm over. And that's a good length in between full and short, and just holds its line. Root well inside the line, though, no danger there.
A few comments on YouTube. Baz Griffo says, who do you think is winning the test? I mean, obviously Australia are well on top at this stage, but I still think the draw is favourite for me.
It is.
Yeah.
I've put 2 bets on England to win, £1 on at 2 different bookies. One was offering me 66, the other was offering me 50. I still, England have lost tests from better positions or similar positions.
Yeah. And one test from worse, like last time.
Exactly.
Cummins in again, short, up into the body. Joe Root well behind it, just knocks it down his feet. And that's another ball gone.
But I do think the draw is massively the favourite. I think this is it. I think this pitch is particularly the easiest to bat on that we've seen so far, and the conditions are less favourable for the bowlers for some reason or other.
I think the only question is if England make the follow-on target, then that should be fairly safe.
Yeah, I mean, I think in most circumstances, actually, enforcing the follow-on gives you almost no advantage because you're so far ahead in the game anyway. But given that there's time taken out of the game, it makes Australia, I think, more likely to enforce the follow-on.
Absolutely, yeah.
We saw that test match.
Although you've got to think logically, the Australians don't have to win.
No, they don't.
Cummins in again, right arm over again, full, and Joe Root solidly behind it, knocking it back to the bowler.
And the other thing is they've only got 4 bowlers. Do they want to turn them around again that quickly?
I mean, if England take 80 overs, which is... Well, actually, if they took 80 overs, it'd nearly be the end of the day, and they might go, well, OK, we've only got to get... The thing is, you want the wickets for the new ball, but then you've got only 15 overs maybe to the end of the day. Well, not even that.
If they got
today's going to be a short day.
They bowled 10 overs yesterday. If they bowled 80 overs today, you'd have probably about 6 overs tonight. Because the plan is to get 78 overs in today.
OK.
So yeah, maybe you'd go.
But that assumes they get them all today. I mean, if England last 120 overs and they're 40 overs into tomorrow as well,
yeah,
and they're still short.
So I think then you just try and bat quickly and set up a 4th innings chase. We do have that change of bowling that we were thinking was going to happen from the James Anderson end. It is the GOAT, so probably the best spinner in world cricket at the moment.
It is indeed Nathan Lyon coming in to the attack for the first time today. Before the game there was some talk about how having Mitchell Stark in the lineup helps create the footholds for Lyon to exploit.
Yeah, he's not been bowling for long enough yet for that to be a thing. Also, he's now bowling to the left-handed Burn, so it's not that much of an issue.
And Stark's been yanked. Lyon in for the first time. Standard stock off spinner into Burns, and he just blocks it out into the offside for no run.
Yeah, a little hint of turn. That lovely drift and dip that Lyon gets.
He's very aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, he's a beautiful bowler to watch. He really is.
He knows how to work a batsman out these days as well.
Absolutely. Lyon in again, ambling up to the wicket. Slightly shorter. Burns goes back to cut, but can only pick out the man at backward point, and that is no run.
You can see there's a little bit of rough on both sides of the wicket.
Yeah. I don't think it'll turn massively at the moment, though. And it seems to come through at a nice pace, and it's a good bounce.
Lyon got one to go absolutely miles last night, but it was far too wide for Burns to do anything with.
So Nathan Lyon again strolling up to the wicket. Bowls, that's slightly pitching on leg and back into middle. Burns well behind it though, just on the bounce to Marnus Labuschagne at short.
Sending it off.
Yeah, sending it off. That's
yeah,
right.
There was a long piece of analysis on the technique and positioning of close infielders, particularly on the offside.
Line in again. This is on middle, and Burns solidly in again. No run there.
You'd think with the ball turning this way away from the left-hander, the ball is more likely to go square of of the man at silly mid-off. So maybe Labuschagne's come a little bit straighter to give himself a better chance of catching it in his strong right hand.
Absolutely.
You were listening earlier.
I was.
Line in, it
Ooh.
goes straight on with the arm, pitched on off, goes to middle, Burns backed away, cut, but again just picks out the man. A defensive cut, no real intent to score there, just keeping it out. Lovely ball.
Burns does cut well off the stumps, actually. He played that with a straight bat, but he
Yeah.
cut Lyon a couple of times very nicely in his one over yesterday.
So final ball of Nathan Lyon's first over of the day, Lyon in again. And Burns sweeping this time, sweeping that downward chopping action, and goes to square leg, and they are through for a single, which means Rory Burns will retain the strike for the next over.
Well, batted Rory Burns.
Yeah, decent sweep.
Yeah.
The ball is turning away, so it was a fair enough shot.
It's a fair enough shot. Again, I don't think there's anything to worry about there. It's not ragging, is it, at all? I mean, it's turning a little bit. There's a true bounce.
So here we are, England 49 for 2 now, trailing by 448.
A few more comments on YouTube. Michael Ward says, somewhat out of nowhere, Batman. Nishal Sabella says, Je suis Inglando. Shivam Yadav says, hi. Namo again 2019 says, England will lose the Ashes 3-1. Roy Manuel says, g'day again from expat in Christchurch, New Zealand. What's the weather going to do? Well, we think we've come through the worst of it for today.
I think there's various chances at various times of having showers.
But I think having started, there might be sort of passing showers. There's a very strong breeze blowing from sort of west to east at Old Trafford, which will sort of blow the showers through. We hope. Andrew Wharton said, who do you think will win in the T20 Blast quarter-final between Sussex and Worcestershire tonight?
Good question. Cummins in again, slanting across Burns, who just shoulders arms, far too wide to play at, no run there.
And Sussex, as Tony was saying, Alex Carey's been in very good form for Sussex, and of course they've
Yeah.
got Chris Jordan, they've got Delroy Rawlins, both in very good form. For Worcestershire, Moeen Ali's been in excellent form since he went back to Worcester. But I think I would have Sussex slight favourites.
Ed Barnard's been playing well.
Yes, he has been.
Well, we've had some entries into GPL, and you've got 10 minutes left, 12 minutes left according to the clock on this computer.
Hurry.
Ends at 3:30. We opened it for an extra hour today because there was no play this morning.
And we're just nice people.
And we are just nice people, and I'll give you all the
Cummins
details
in again.
after.
And that's up into
Well played.
Burns' ribs, but played down very well with Labuschagne lurking there on the leg side. Burns got well over the top of that. It's just kind of up into that armpit region that they were talking about on TV during the lull.
That
this
was a
morning.
no ball.
And a massive no ball as well. that's
Yeah,
been
it's
missed
actually
by
Matthew Wade under the lid at short
there
leg.
yes.
Yes, they are trialling later this year, I think in the Ranji Trophy in India, the third umpire watching the front foot line, and then pinging the on-field umpire.
Watching it, they must be able to mechanise that.
I mean, that was
Like a bowling alley.
that was.
well, no, I don't know. They must be able to have, some sort of laser beam that you have to cut from off the.
And then a thing will go
it's a
ping.
Hawkeye, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
like a
Oh,
bowling
yeah.
alley.
Is it a bowling alley? They're doing that.
Yeah, they've got a leg gully in place as well.
Comes in again and slant across Burns again, leaves it elaborately, and no run straight through to pain.
I
Yes.
mean, you'd have thought so. You can mechanise that.
Yeah, I think so. But I
Yeah.
think what they're trialling later this year is having the third umpire, because it's a lot for a standing umpire to watch the line and then.
fucking dull job watching a line all day, then.
Well, it's one of your. Well, you're the third umpire. You've got a lot to do. You've got a lot to do anyway. You've got other things to do.
I suppose.
But they can watch that. Have a camera trained on the front line. You won't miss any.
yeah, but I if that was me, I'd just, oh Christ,
I
wait
suppose,
for the replay.
Yeah, I
You know,
suppose. Well, we'll
It'd still be
continue after
easy
this.
to take your attention
Yeah.
away from it.
We'll continue after this ball. Cummins in again, bowls through short, and that's aimed at the gloves of Burns, who just drops them just in time, throws out the way, no run through to Payne.
Well, they were talking about this, weren't they, as well? How they reckon that you get Burns out, and NASA reckons that the short one is because he gets squared up to what we were talking about earlier about it easier to face up to the left-hander and start than the right-hander. He's quite square on.
Yeah, that time he
Yeah.
dropped his hands first, and then if it was going to hit him on the shoulder, so be it.
Maybe that's what he's been working at. He's been watching NASA and going, I'm not going to have that. NASA. I'm not having
But yeah, he was a little bit. You're going to get squared up with that angle from a right arm over bowler bowling to you as a left-handed batsman.
Cummins in again, bowls Burns. That's a stop ball just in forward defence by Burns. Knocks it to point, and there is no run there.
Right, GPL entries. James Humberston, he's on 132. Messi Jez on the threes. He's 223, 233, 243, 325, 3263. You can have about 9 minutes to join those people. The pot will be about
£122.
£122 at the beginning of the day. Be a couple of quid higher now.
Yeah, so well worth a punt on YouTube. Abhay Pratap Singh says Root should get out, and Sports Crazy says Australia's bowling getting back to where it was some years ago. It's a fine attack they have.
Indeed.
It is indeed.
Pat Cummins steaming in again. Bowls right hand. Oh, and
that's a really good defence.
That's a good ball. It was jagged in short, but not so that it would go steaming over the head of the batsman, and Burns just has to wear that one somewhere in his.
I thought he got his hands on it and got it down.
Hands.
Yeah, I think that's really good defence.
Yes, it's just come up. Oh, hard to tell.
Yeah, he's taken the bottom hand off the bat, and the top hand has sort of punched it down into the ground.
That's actually really,
and he's
really well played.
Yeah, he's watched
really
it
well
all
played.
the way. Very well done, Rory Burns.
Yeah, he's not sure where it is at the end. He's looking up and down, but that was very well played in the end. It's kind of that in-between length that's so hard to play.
He made sure that he got on top of it. It was very well done, and he'll obviously take a little bit of time out of the game, having been thumped on that top hand.
Well, he's a gritty little player.
Yeah, for sure. Some conflicting views on Joe Root on YouTube. Abhay Pratap Singh says Root is the worst cricketer. Then Zishan Islam says Root is legend. Root is the king. Root has 16 test tons already.
He does. His conversion rate's not great. I mentioned that in a podcast. I think. Very similar record to Bell.
Yeah. I think those two should go and have a fight in Sheffield.
Well, they're having a fight in our YouTube comments instead.
Yeah. Who needs Sheffield when you have Twitter and YouTube, right?
Absolutely. You don't need to meet person to person.
So Nathan Lyon resuming. He's in, and that's outside the off stump. Bit of turn. Root doesn't want anything to do with that at all, and just tucks his back behind his shoulder.
Yeah, that's a big floaty wide one, wasn't it? The tempter.
A little bit too full to be of any use. We have a few comments on Twitter, which I'll slip in between deliveries.
Nathan Lyon in again, quick turnaround. This one is wide again. Root cuts it this time, but straight to the man at backward point, and that is no run.
Yeah, there is the rough there is too full really for Lyon to properly exploit it yet. Jay Grover says, as I'm satiated by my posh cosmopolitan sandwich and thus in a state of zen, I shall ignore Tim's condescending reference to colloquial speak.
Sorry, Lyon in again. Short but angles in, and Root just punches it out to point again.
Never has a man fallen from favourite person to voodoo doll so quickly. Messi Jez says Sheffield, of course, provides the name, courtesy of Lord Sheffield, for the Premier First Class competition in Australia. Quite right, the Sheffield Shield.
I said colloquial, not yokel. That's entirely different. Anyway, Lyon in again. That's an easy forward defence. Joe Root solidly behind that and taps it back to Lyon.
When I imagine...
Sorry, that's my diction. He did say colloquial. He was quoting you verbatim.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair enough. No, but I'm saying that colloquial's fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just means, local vernacular.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jay.
It's all right, Jay. I think Sheffield's all right.
Lyon in again. That's a bit of sharp turn there. Nice faster delivery, but Root back foot, forward defence, back defence, and nothing doing there.
Because Root always hangs on the back foot to the spinners, actually, we've been talking a bit about the forward, the silly mid off. It's actually not that useful for Root because he doesn't lunge forward. You're almost better having a man at leg slip.
Gary Lyon in for the final ball of the over now, and that's slightly fuller. Forward defence again. Joe Root pressing down, holding the pose, as if to make the point that thou shalt not pass, until a couple of overs when he does pass.
Well, quite. Jonah Jones says, sorry to be a pain, but could you explain what tactics the bowlers have for the batsman? That's not being a pain, that's what we're here for.
Exactly.
Well, Nathan Lyon is trying to drag Joe Root forward, get him outside off stump, because he likes to hang on the back foot. As a spinner, I think you always prefer a batsman lunging forward at you, rather than being able to play you comfortably off the back foot.
Yeah, being played comfortably off the back foot is annoying.
It's annoying. And particularly if off the back foot as an off spinner bowling to a right hander, because the batsman can get outside the line of off stump, take LBW,
work it around the corner.
Work you around the corner, which is partly why I think they should have a leg slip in place. For Pat Cummins, he's trying to bowl sort of into that armpit region of Rory Burns, bowling from over the wicket to the left hander, try to discomfort him with the short ball. I think for Root, he might hang the odd one wide, because Root does like to square drive. So that's what we can see, what I can discern the tactics are from Cummins and Lyon bowling to Burns and Root.
Pat Cummins in again, bowls short, slanting across Burns, who drops his hands out of the way, and that is no run.
And you can see that because they've got the three slips in there for the one that Burns sort of either leading edges or has a flash out outside off stump, and they've got the short leg and they've got the leg gully, and I expect when you pan back they'll have at least one man back on the hook.
Yeah, they will do, I think. And they're definitely testing out the short stuff, aren't they? They're trying to slant it across, get them to defend it, pop it up somewhere.
So they've got a sort of short, straightish mid wicket. They've got a mid on. I don't think there's anyone at square leg, but there is a long leg.
There is a long leg,
and a sort of backward point.
Cummins in again. This is short, but the other side over leg stump, and Burns just ducks, and that is no trouble for him at all.
So they've got to wear this through, and that's a no.
no ball.
That one's been
it's
called.
a big one. It's a no-y. Extra run for England.
Way.
Over the line! Huh? I'm sorry, Smokey. You were over the line. That's a foul.
Yeah, so it's a 5-4 sort of offside field. So the 3 slips, backward point and a mid off, and then you've got the sort of straightish mid wicket. The man at back long leg, the man at leg gully, and a man at forward short leg.
Oh, we now got 11 entries. We've had some late comers. You've still got 4 minutes left.
Do it. Cummins in again. Short, back across to the offside. Burns drops his hand. No run through to Payne.
Yeah, that was actually a no ball on height, I think.
No, they showed the front foot.
Oh, did they? Well, it could also have been over.
Can't have been no ball on high. It wasn't a full bunger, was it?
No, sorry, it would be a wide, of course, wouldn't it, if it passed over his head? Quite right. I wonder when Cummins is going to bowl that one a little bit fuller, or quite a bit fuller actually than he's just been bowling, with Burns pretty much camping on the back foot to try and get him sort of half forward driving for the little nick to the 3 slips.
Our latest Oscar Mack's gone 200. James Henderson's having a punt at 232. He's trawling Messi Jez on 223.
Pat Cummins in, that's short again, down the leg side. Burns thinks about it. Payne looks disappointed that there was no strangle down the leg side, but there was not, and the score remains 50 for 2. Burns on 28.
On Crit Tracker, I have Khan Mormon says, hi, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Dave on YouTube says, as regarding that little bit of argument between Ayoub and Zeeson, this also means that Abe is better than Joe Root. Zeeson Islam says, with some news from around the cricketverse, Sri Lanka won the toss, will bat first versus New Zealand in the 3rd T20. New Zealand 2-0 up in that series, and apparently have 10 fit players.
Oh, there you go.
Ross Taylor, I think, is playing with an injury.
Oh.
Michael Ward says, Abe, I take it your judgment is perfect.
And Cummins was in, and that just hit Burns in the midriff, or in the Labushans, as we say nowadays.
And we should mention that Afghanistan are giving Bangladesh a good show for their money.
Yes, indeed. With Rahmat Shah becoming Afghanistan's first Test centurion yesterday. 90 for Asghar Afghan, 50 for Rashid Khan, the youngest ever Test captain, his first Test 50, and Rashid Khan's also taken a 4-fer. And big wickets as well. You've got Lytton Das in his first over. He then got Shakib and Mushfiqur in the same over.
Blimey.
And then got Mohammedullah.
That's
Nice.
an impressive little run.
I think they're 8 down for
194 for 8.
Yeah, there you go.
Cummins in again, right arm over to Burns left-handed, and that's a short ball over middle stump. Burns ducking down, crab-like, and that is no run.
Yeah, decent partnership for the 9th wicket between Mossadegh Hussain, who I've been very impressed with throughout his international career, and Tajul Islam, who's batting doggedly. Those two have put on 48, but Bangladesh are still 148 behind at the end of day 2.
Indeed. Late entries 247. Seagrace Saab, who also has 267. He's on the 7s, and CDP. CDP, isn't that the thing in Robocop?
Don't know.
Multi-core company. He's got 271. And you've got 1 minute left.
Yep, Cummins in again for the final ball of the over. That's what do you know? A short ball on leg stump this time. Burns says, no thank you very much, that's not going to win you a Test match.
Yeah, too short and easy for Burns to duck.
Indeed.
Also, this is the other thing with that this makes this pitch a little bit easier to bat on, and Headingley was a little like this too, because you can trust the bounce, you can duck and you can leave on length. At Lords, people were trying to duck those and getting hit because the ball wasn't getting up properly.
I think we've probably got about 1 over before a change. I was also going to say about New Zealand, they're used to playing with only 10 fit players, because Jesse Ryder used to play for New Zealand.
What a player he was. Beautiful to watch.
I like Jesse Ryder. I say this as someone who, whenever he plays cricket, also ensures that his team only have 10 fit players.
The sports reporter says, English weather can be England's only saviour on YouTube. Dave on YouTube says, well explained, the bowling plan, sir. Thank you. That's what we're here for.
We used to have a great jingle for Jesse Ryder back in Test match Sofa days.
PJ Meads on Twitter says, hello gorillas, I'm listening on a walk along the Thames Path. This is the charming Cookham Church. And it does look quite nice.
Cookham, lovely place.
And the Wedding Cave says, good morning gents, hoping for radar, praying for rain. Sincerely, Norman Climate.
Gary Lyon again, bowling to Joe Root. Stock off spinner there, slightly wide, but Root has no problem just blocking that out to the offside.
Tony Bishop from the Green Room has sent in a graph from CricViz saying that this is the 48% short balls that Rory Burns faced in Headingley was the most he'd ever faced in the Test match in terms of percentage of deliveries, and it's been steadily going up through the series.
Lyon again, same ball, same outcome. Gentle off spinner into Root, who blocks it forward, and this time Payne trots down for good exercise and slings the ball back to Gary Lyon.
I suspect you might be over half the deliveries he's faced, being maybe not actually 71 balls. He probably faced 25 maybe short balls.
Guess so, yes. Alright, Nathan Lyon in again. Right arm over to Root, and that's coming a bit more sharply, slightly faster ball. Root just works his legs around it and taps it down to the leg slip.
Did he get pad, but it was outside off stump? Payne was appealing.
No,
Bat straight off the bat.
The middle.
He's fine if he gets outside the line of off stump, but he almost didn't on that occasion.
It's fine if he hits it too, to be fair.
Slipping a short leg. Still bring a man
Line
out,
in
leg
again, and this is slightly close to the stumps, but again, Joe Root hanging on the back foot, taps it down to the man at silly mid-off.
slip. Neymar Butlin says, I like having verbs in our team. We had Cook, Swan and Trott. I feel better with Root and Burns out there now. Jay Grover says, I take it all back. Tim is welcome to come for a pint with me in
Hooray!
Sheffield.
Yay.
Excellent. I want the fight though. Is the fight off the table? I'm disappointed. Anyway, Lyon in for 2-all, and Root charging down the pitch. Payne presumably showing that he's put his deodorant on, because I don't know what he's appealing for there. His hands up in the air.
There was, again, half appealing for LBW, but he's gone way outside the line of off stump as well as coming down the track.
Several yards down the pitch there.
Again, slightly beaten in the flight by Lyon when he tries to come down the track. Root never quite looks comfortable coming down the track.
No. Nathan Lyon in for the final ball of the over, and that's slightly shorter, and Root just whips that off the pads, and they trot through for a single.
That's his first single for a little while, isn't it?
Yep, deep square left back in. So, it's a change coming up now.
Yeah,
England are 51 for 2.
Before you play the jingle, let me just finish Jay's point. I have a lovely little bijou bistro picked out for him. His accent will dazzle the locals, and he shall make a hit with his urbane mannerisms.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Start a wonderful love affair. Right, there's a change coming.
You know you can help us, and this is how.
Yep, you owe us all right. You think this alternative cricket commentary stuff comes cheap? Well, we need some dollar bills to help pay our bills, so please go to patreon.com/GorillaCricket and sign up to make a regular monthly donation. You know there is literally nothing like Gorilla Cricket's coverage, so don't be tight. Dip into your virtual pocket and throw some cash our way. See, Rihanna knows. Patreon.com/Gorilla Cricket.
Pay me what you want it.
Are you staying with us then, Tim?
Yes, I'm just getting some refreshment.
Okie dokie. You've been on since the beginning.
Yeah, but he's going at 3.
Mind you,
so we're squeezing him. We're getting
we're getting
value.
every ounce of blood out of you. Cummins is in, short and wide outside the off stump. Well, it's a length outside off stump, but not to trouble Root. He's playing the line of the off stump, and he lets it through to Payne, and there ain't no run. He's on 11. Burns is on 28. We trail by 446 with 51 for 2. It's the first innings. They must have bowled how many overs now? 22, 23. England have just got to basically take that new ball and get it older, get some overs in the legs of the bowlers. And as I've said all along, I think this pitch is pretty true, and it's not a bad batting pitch. It's it's effectively day 2. As Cummins is in, down the leg side. I think it's going to be leg by. I don't think he got any bat on that. I think it was a thigh pad. It was indeed. Good God, yeah. And the England score moves on to 55 for 2. It's about occupation, is it not, boys?
It still is. It still is.
If they just play every ball on its merits. And this is what I got annoyed about with all the pressure. They're going back to its 90s. And I understand. I mean, the thing was, when I got home yesterday, I was actually quite depressed. I was just like, we played so shit. Why is it,
I just got more depressed because I had to watch Middlesex get thumped by 10 wickets.
Yeah, it wasn't looking good when I left here, it has to be said. Cummins up to the crease, bowls, and left alone by Root through to Payne, no run. And I read, the report in the Guardian was, this is back to the 90s and stuff, and it was a bad session in the afternoon, and Payne being dropped, that was poor, overstepping for a left-arm spinner, and I mean that drives me insane. But the wicket was quite true, and Piggy Smith is pretty good, and we should have had him out twice. I mean, Archer dropped him in the first over of the morning. You got to take your chances. Could have been a lot different. It's bad play. And if England gets similar amount of luck, and the thing is, if you get runs on a board and partnerships going, you can force that kind of luck to a certain degree. Beautiful shot by Root. Full and straight and on his pads, and he doesn't miss out on them. Root clips that beautifully out to the deep mid-wicket boundary for 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And I've been bagging Root myself a little bit. I came in with that stat in the last test about he's actually his conversion rate is less than Ian Bell, and the amount of crap we used to give Ian Bell on the sofa back in the day, that he wasn't a man who converted his 50s into tons, and Root, in a different era we'd have been bagging him as well, but he is our best batsman. I just really want to see him get a big score, put some of these demons to bed. And what a better time than today, eh? 59 for 2. Cummins is in, outside half of the bat, goes out towards Gully, he fields it, all on the ground, and there's no run. Who's that?
That's Travis Head.
No, it's not, it's Marcus Harris, I think.
Yeah.
They've all got jumpers on.
They're also well wrapped up. I can't tell
exactly.
You do it by body build when you're watching.
Well, normally they have their bloody names on the back these days, don't they?
Joe Root's still proudly jumperless out there in the middle.
Wow, he's a hardy Englishman.
Yeah,
he's
surprised
not
not in shorts, to be honest.
Well, exactly. I mean, he's a Yorkshireman.
He's
probably
balmy late
summer day for the Yorkshire.
He's probably still sweating up from that all run 4.
And gets right behind that ball from Cummins, defends it back down on the track, and there's no run. The pace is up, but the thing is, the ball's really not doing much off the seam, and it's still a relatively new ball. It's only 20 overs old.
It's just what they need this session, is it? Just
absolutely.
Take the sting out.
Take the sting out of Australia.
Pumped first.
Exactly. I mean, they'd have thought England made a load of mistakes. We scored a shitload of runs. This England, batting lineup is pretty fragile. But I think, with the exception of Smith and maybe Labuschagne now, the Australian batting is pretty shaky, and they managed to get 500 runs. There's no reason why England's batting can't get 500 runs.
Well, this is why, you can't rely on the other team being rubbish. You have to make things happen, don't you? And Australia just aren't doing that right now. Nothing's happening.
Well, there isn't anything happening.
And they're also bowling at 13 overs an hour, which is shocking when you want to get people out, when there's time being taken out of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And with only 2 days left after that,
Find them.
If England are only, 4 or 5 down at the end of the day, this game is massively heading for a draw, I'd have thought.
Yeah,
strange things could happen tomorrow morning. I suppose about then there'll be a new ball either right at the end of today or very early in the morning, and that'll be the crux situation of England. There aren't too many wickets down. But Australia were 29 for 2. They got to 170 for 2, and then it all went horribly downhill from there. Clipped by Burns out to mid wicket, and straight to the fielder. He's the only man in that leg side field, and he picked him out quite nicely. No run. Tweets, Tony?
There are, but I was waiting for Nathan Lyon to bowl, because he gets through them pretty quick.
He does bowl too fast.
Lyon around the wicket to Burns, who plays that up to mid on. They decide to go no run.
Jonah poses us an interesting question. What do you make of Smith's comments on TV? The short ball plays into my hands because it softens up more quickly. That could be a double bluff, but I think he's right.
I thought we'd poo-pooed the double bluff.
A bluff or a double bluff?
Oh, sorry.
It's an initial bluff, isn't it?
It's an initial bluff.
Double. Round the wicket, and a little bit too short, cut by Burns.
You should definitely double check that, Tony.
Indeed.
He was quite double check. No, maybe just check.
Let's not go there, people. Let's not go there.
He did say that he felt England's bowling rather played into his hands yesterday, or worse.
Well, he said the ball got softened up, didn't it, by banging it into the wicket.
And I think he has a point.
Well,
truth.
Well, if that's the truth, they've been banging the wicket at Burns. They're softening up that ball.
Well, Burns
and Root won't mind.
I'll let you know in a moment.
Over the wicket. That one does turn quite sharply. Nicely played by Root. They just allows it to come off the face of the bat, follows the path of the ball, beats the man who's up on the 45 on the single, and it races away to the boundary for 4 runs.
2 + 2 is a man.
Come on, Rooty. Make us believe. Yeah, I was quite depressed when I left here yesterday, I've got to say. Shit day's cricket from England.
Jonah also says, in other news, Mugabe's popped his clogs, gutted as you can imagine.
Oh, well, that's gigantic news. What are you doing? Eject.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to
Lyon over the
wickets.
Turns quite sharply, but Root's right forward. Gets inside half of the bat with a nice true face into the ground and goes to short leg, no run. Soft hands. Nice.
Who's that forward short?
It should be Wade. He was the guy who caught the ball yesterday. Maybe they change it between the spinner and the fast ball. It was fast bowler, sorry. Right forward again.
It thump into his jumper and then sort of bounce out or into his chest.
Yeah, it did a bit.
Attempt, didn't he?
Yeah, and it also came off Denley's thigh, didn't
You
he?
have to feel a bit for Joe Denley.
Yeah.
He's not had the rub of the green. in any
Well, I've got to
shape.
say, he looked a lot. I was a lot happier with him opening, even though he only got whatever it was, 5 runs, and got caught in that fashion than I was watching bloody Jason Roy opening. I mean, you were just waiting for Jason Roy to nick off.
Brian Barish says, "I'm hoping the weather holds off over there. We're getting rain bands from Hurricane Dorian, which is meandering its way up the east coast of the USA as we speak." Yeah,
Stay safe.
Stay safe, indeed.
It smashed the Bahamas, didn't it?
Jesus
It looks
Christ, did it
dreadful,
just?
Jay Grover says, "What city is Joe Root from again?" And he didn't even go to one of your posh schools.
No, he went to grammar school, though, didn't he? I believe.
Yeah, but he's not a posh school, as in a private school.
No.
Or a public school, rather.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Llewellyn Cave says, "Just awakened. How much time lost to the weather thus far today?" Norman Climate. How much time lost today? They started at 1:30. They took an early lunch. So they lost about 2 hours, didn't they?
God, audio
They lost the whole morning
You're trying
session,
to find
basically.
something
Basically, the
Yeah,
whole morning
that's it,
session,
that's it.
Llewellyn Cave.
in the
is the
audio
answer.
wall. Sorry. Cummins. Hazelwood is back into the attack. Inside half of the bat. On his pad, and there's no run.
Roy Manuel, I think on YouTube, says Root's world class, but is a long way to go for the captain's job.
Sorry, new bowler. I've just reacquainted myself with the searching system. It's this man.
He once hit keys wet as stumps. He must be good. Josh Hazelwood.
Yes. It's Josh Hazelwood. We love that jingle. I'm glad you found that, Tim.
That's
Oh, short.
Oh, hello.
And down the legs. And he's had a flash at that. It was another attempted short ball, but 86.7 miles an hour wasn't quite enough. Burns got inside that and helped it down pretty fine, but he pulled it and aerial for a while. There's no leg slip and there's no one that fine. It's 4 runs. Beautiful
And if
shot.
you kids can't listen, then you bound to see the way you get shot for crossing a boundary, crossing a boundary.
Although that's how he got caught in the last test. It was the same exact shot, so if he didn't hit it, he gloved it through the keeper. Probably a bit on him a bit quicker in the last test. That's a good shot by Burns. He moves on to 33. Root's 19. We trail now by 4.29. 68 for 2. Burns faces up. And Hazelwood is up to the crease. Bowls. He gets right behind that. Defends it into the ground. There's no run there.
Shabir Ahmed says hi.
Hi.
To you. Hi to
Hi.
you.
Hello. Cheers. It's Friday afternoon. And I imagine in India, actually, it's Friday evening.
Yeah.
It's
party.
beer. It's beer o'clock.
It's always beer o'clock somewhere in the world.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Joe Root went to High Stores, a secondary modern, not grammar schools, in the People's Republic of Sheffield.
Nice.
Jay Grover, of course, tells us. He also says Mugabe's death demands the Abe Edmondson jingle. Is that the one? Is that to stop being shit?
No, that's F off, F off.
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
There's someone pointed out that. Well, someone thinks that's Abe Edmondson. I don't know.
It does sound like it should be.
It should be.
Yeah,
It's
it
someone
really
like
does
that.
sound
Yeah.
like that, yeah. Going steadily, these two, aren't they?
Indeed. Burns facing up. That's another one attempted in at his ribs, but it's too far down the leg side. And Burns just shoulders arms, lets it through inside the ball. There's no run.
Messi Jazz is combining politics and cricket, always dangerous.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure Root would be pleased to have Boris as PM, as he makes everyone else's captaincy look absolutely fantastic by comparison with his own.
he's having a horror show of a start, isn't he, old Boris? It's quite funny.
The bull, what he was doing with the bull, God only knows. He seems to put himself in positions where he's going to look a twat.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
of course.
By
I mean,
default,
when he
somehow,
thinks that
doesn't
works, and it's obviously it does for some people, but not for others. It makes him look like a fucking idiot. Left alone outside the off stump by Burns, and
So-
through the keeper, there's no run.
Sadly, Joe Root's brother's not in the England team, so we can't leave it.
Billy,
No.
Yeah.
yes, that's true. Not yet. He's doing all right though.
He is, he is.
He's
He had a good season
down at
so far.
Glamorgan now, isn't he? Is he playing for Glamorgan these days? I think.
How old is his little brother?
Moved from Notts to Glamorgan.
Yeah,
How old is his little brother?
don't know, 23, 24?
Well, he's got time to improve and get some brothers back.
Yeah,
in
he made I think the cricketers like team of the first half of the county season.
Okay.
He's been playing well, so of course I picked him for my 2020 fantasy team, and he didn't do too well from there.
Well, if he becomes a test player,
Oh, exactly,
I'll be happy with that. Played late and under the eyes, nicely by Burns. Ball slanting across him slightly by Hazelwood. Just below 85 miles an hour, and he plays it comfortably enough down to Gully, no run. And that ends the over. 1 for 18, Hazelwood off 9. 68 for 2, England. And is he? Steve Smith, 211. The next highest scorer for Australia was 67. You know, I mean, it's and you can knock 100 runs off that plus probably if Archer caught you could have knocked off 140.
If Leach had 100 runs with Leach had not overstepped.
Absolutely that. And you know, and there's that critical period after lunch. You know, fourth ball after lunch. You know, he's full of I mean, it's a bit. It didn't deserve a wicket. The ball would have.
Steve Smith's got 34% of all Australia's runs in this series. They've scored as a team, but this is before
even without playing
and
one
that's
test.
not playing one test.
1,146. He's got 589 runs. Which is,
I mean, that's outrageous, isn't it? Need to clonk him on the head again. Jesus.
I've just been waiting for a chance to use that stat. You just served it up very nicely.
Well, thank you very much. There you go.
Is that stat available on Stats Guru?
It may have come from there originally. I got it from
I always want to find that one.
A newspaper article.
Tossed up. Maybe a little bit of inside edge and pad, but it goes straight, and short leg is obviously pretty square.
Actually, it came with a graphic, so it could be the graphic. No, I cropped the picture.
Yeah,
I didn't crop the source.
Pad there,
but there it is.
That's back pad.
I wasn't making it up.
No,
that's mad, isn't it? And he's missed a test. Imagine if we played another test, it'd be 50%, wouldn't it?
Well, God, yeah.
Got to get him out for crying out loud. You can't bowl him with no balls and drop him. Oh, that one kept a little bit low. It was outside off stump. Root goes back deep in his crease.
But that's where I think
the
comparison with Bradman is interesting, because you have two players where the opposition are both fixated and troubled, vexed by how on earth do we get this chap out.
Well, I mean, the truth is that you could have had him out. So they've got to play. They've got to. Oh, that's turned quite sharply down leg side.
Steady, Rory. Get back to the striker.
I think that bounced off Payne down to the man on a 45.
But that actually propagates the legend, because as the opposition, you think, Jesus, even when we do get him out, we don't get him out.
Well, yeah, but that's your own bloody fault. So you can't think like that. You got to think, well, we could have caught and bowled him then. You know, this is international cricket. You've got to take your chances when they happen.
Don't bloody overstep as an off spinner.
And don't overstep as a spinner. That one turns again sharply, but it's a bit too short, and so it's turning off a length that Root can quite happily go back and watch it turn and play the ball off the pitch. Which isn't really going to help Lyon. It might look good, but it's turning too much and it's not particularly helpful. That one is clipped into the leg side to move wicket. It's fielded straight to the man. There's no run.
Spicy Golden Duck says it's always beer o'clock somewhere in the world, and that somewhere is Gorilla Towers.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not actually beer o'clock sometimes when we cover things in the Asian subcontinent, because usually it's 4 in the morning and I can't be asked to drink when I get straight out of bed, funnily enough. Oh, that turns sharply. There's a shot played. It probably hit him in line, but I think it was going over the top of the stumps. And Lyon's smiling. Root's shaking his head.
Well, the 4 o'clock thing, just doing it wrong. You need to stay out, then come into Gorilla Towers.
Well, I can't do that anymore. I'm too old. In the old days, I probably would have done. Which is why the Ashes for me is so dangerous, because that is definitely.
It's in
basically, you're coming in and it's a night out.
Yeah.
Which is always deadly. For 8 hours, 5 days on the trot, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's
not good.
I remember those all-nighters.
The first time
we've got some more to come, of course.
The first time I ever came in was the Groucho Club.
Yeah,
first
that was a fun night. I was
that
absolutely.
Yeah, that was a fun night.
After that, I think I was up for 18, 19 hours through the night.
Yeah. Well, you were doing all the equipment and
I was all
that kind of stuff.
Stressful, man. That was really stressful. And I had to get a cab back here at 11 in the morning after Dave bought us. After we set up, I got there at 8 o'clock the night before. Set up all night. Dave bought us breakfast. I was pissed as. We got in a cab with all the kit and had to drag it back here. Go for sleep and then come and set it up for the evening. It's horrible. On the back foot, Burns works that up to mid-on. There's no run.
Messi Jers says Billy Root's secret of success is he gets his bats from his brother. Gets all his bats from his brother. Could be true. They share the same number. They both wear 66.
What they mean, as in Joe Root's used them already, or Joe Root gets so many from New Balance that just doesn't know what to do with them?
It could be a combination. I think he means the latter rather than Joe Root using them and then handing them down, or it may just be an assumption.
Joe Root knocks them in for him.
What is true is that they both do wear 66.
Burns faces up to Hazelwood, who drops it a little bit short, and he gets right underneath it. Lets it go over the top through the keeper, and there's no run.
Jay Grover says, I can guarantee
that it is Aid Edmondson as Vim Virago from Bad News, which is still jolly funny. Brian Barish says, if we Americans can scull IPAs and other lascivious beverages while watching the Premier League at 6 a.m, you all can drink at 4 a.m. while calling cricket on the bloody subcontinent.
Well, you
Fair
know
enough.
what I can do. I just don't. But if you'd have listened to the Ashes, the last Ashes we did overnight, on Christmas Eve. If you want to hear back, that's defended by Burns, out to cover, no run. Listen to it about 5 or 6 in the morning. Me and Josh Robinson have been up all night drinking copious amounts of whiskey on Boxing Day, and virtually incoherent whilst watching the Boxing Day Test. If you want to hear the worst of Garuda cricket, that's probably not a bad place to start.
That's quite a mind to seam, isn't it?
Oh God, I have very little memory of that. Yeah.
Now that's what I don't call commentary 2019.
Yes. I think we got every ball. We might have been completely sweary by then and talking absolute gibbering nonsense. Nice
Another
shot.
reason to spend £20 on the archive.
Absolutely, there you go. Not quite a nice shot by Burns actually. Waited, saw it off the bat, played it into the ground, timed it nicely, but hit straight at the man. It was a backward point. Or gully. Gully or backward point, I'd say. Gully.
Is this the Aid Edmondson jingle? No, that's not
No.
is it?
No, it's the 4-second one in wickets.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll see if I can find that.
It's basically someone just shouting fuck off, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's the one that's 4 seconds long at number 11.
Fuck off! Just fuck off!
That's the one.
That has to be
Yep,
said
that's
every
the
once in a while. Inside, Burns gets to that ball, another short one. They're trying to test the ribs out. He's getting the right. The line's not quite right. And his speed's dropped. He was 87 miles an hour when he started this morning. He's down to 83, 84, 85 now. Overs, he's in his 10th over, and there's no run as he gets right inside that.
Farman Khan says hi.
Hello.
Hi to you.
Hi.
And Messi Jez says, things you expect here on Gorilla Cricket number 203. I can't be asked to drink when I get straight out of bed at 4 in the morning.
There was a time when I could. That's nicely played by Burns. Now, if you look at the field, because obviously we're watching on TV and we hadn't seen that, there's a man at a pretty fine leg actually. There's a man at long leg and or deep backward square, and maybe someone in front of square as well. They're clearly the men out on the hook. I thought they were trying to just get him to. I didn't think they were trying to get him to play the hook. Having watched NASA earlier, I thought they were trying to bowl it across him and get him to palm it off to the slips. But obviously the hook is in mind as well. He hasn't played that many. He's only played one. That went fine. And he put a fielder there. It's a bit like the horse has bolted.
A few people with us on YouTube. Ken Fish says route currently 19 not out. Thanks, commentators. The sports reporter says thoughts on Smith already being leading run test scorer in the world this year and achieved this in only 2.5 test matches.
I know it's quite. I mean, he is awesome. He is a phenomenon.
Yeah.
A phenomenon.
Is that this calendar year?
Well, yes,
Yeah,
but he's
yeah.
only still only played. Basically, these are his only tests.
Yeah.
Nice cut by Rory Burns. There is a man out sweeping on the point boundary.
The guy was looking at
Goes to
the
him in a
last 12
single.
months the other day, and he's not.
Yeah.
can't
A deeper-
remember who is? Oh, Tom Latham is. On that.
Yeah, a deeper, more philosophical
Well, he only
point.
started playing tests.
I know. That's the thing. Yeah.
A deeper, more philosophical point may be that one-day cricket means the big runs don't get scored as much, and the one man who stands out is able to then stand out.
That was a bit short. Lyon's continuing this line at route where he's trying to find that big spinning patch on the pitch, but I think it's a bit too short. And so now en route to go back, and it's turning too sharply as well. And this time he's watched it. He's tried to pull it. Can't beat the man on 45 on the single. It's quite an intriguing little battle. That one's much fuller. He gets right forward though and just defends it out to mid off, and there is no run. He's on 19. Burns on 35. England 70 for 2, trailed by 4-2-7.
So you're saying that if Smith had played in the World Cup, he wouldn't be able to do this
He
now?
did play in the World Cup, and he scored a shitload of runs in the World Cup.
Yeah, he did.
I'm forgetting his. I thought it was banned. Yeah, sorry.
No.
Blind spot.
My point was a different
Clipped
one.
out to mid wicket, no run.
My
It's
point
even
was
more impressive.
if generally the big scores don't get made with such regularity as they used to, given the techniques around the world are sort of hindered, as it were, a little bit by one-day cricket.
I mean, That's tossed up. Root tries to clip it in the leg side. It's a bit of a crooked bat, really. Gets inside edge onto his foot.
Then the standout players,
right?
like Smith, like Kohli, stand out that bit more.
Yeah.
That was where I was sort of going. I don't have stats to back that up. Merely a gut feel.
I mean,
Never let stats get in the way of a good story.
I mean,
right?
he was the only man who batted in that semi-final for Australia versus England when we thumped him in the World Cup forward. For that's no run. He repaired damage against the West Indies, I think it was, when they were in trouble there to a certain degree. There was another game I watched that he repaired the damage there. I mean, he's just a class. The thing is with Smith is he seems to have so much goddamn time. You know.
Yeah, he does.
He never seems to be, hardly ever seems to be hurried.
Whilst also getting up
in really
bowlers'
odd,
noses at
exactly,
the
and
same
in really odd positions to play shots. You know, I mean, you look at some of those ones he slaps through the covers. You know,
the ones we actually dive towards to play a flashing shot through point.
He'll play a pretty full ball to drive out through cover point. Now, you know, the batting manual, you get your foot out to the ball, you play with a high elbow. You know, a la bloody Ian Bell, you know, beautiful cover drive. His foot's splayed out towards leg stump, his back foot's across on the back, but his head's over the ball and he just spams it out with a square bat. I mean, it's not a traditional cover drive by any stretch. It's not a cut. It's a Steve Smith shot. You know, but he has so much time to do it.
Well, Sports Crazy on YouTube has a very interesting point of view. He says, I think the 1 year ban plays a big part in Smith becoming more hungry for runs. I think that is a contributing factor.
I'm sure it is.
And who did I hear suggesting that? Tim Payne, I think, was suggesting that he just, not only did he go away and just keep still working in the nets and playing whatever cricket he was allowed to play, but he was desperate to now to come back and you know, to make the most of what he has, the time he's got, and he's doing it magnificently.
Still wants to prove that he's the best, and you know, you have to say that he's better than Kohli's. Much more pleasant to watch. Root's probably more pleasant to watch. In fact, most of them are more pleasant to watch. Kane Williams is certainly more pleasant to watch, but he's the man who's got the most amount of runs.
Indeed. Messi Jez, post Headingley stress disorder, says, yes, I saw an interview with Billy Root where he was talking about his brother passing on all his used bats to him. No doubt New Balance provides plenty, I would imagine they do. Evil Scootus says, at Guerrilla Cricket, you folks are often fun on Boxing Day for away tours. Somewhere on one of my computers, I still think I have a copy of the 10-11 Boxing Day and New Year tests. There was some depths of barely contained incoherence through that.
I'm sure there were.
Yeah.
Yes.
In case you wonder what's going on, we're on a drinks break.
We're on a drinks break.
Yeah.
This
is why we're chitter-chattering. And joining the chitter-chatter is the sports reporter, who says the main point is his bat starts at a point but comes through straight under his eyes, which indeed it does, which is exactly what you were saying, Bear.
I suppose to a certain extent, as long as at the point of contact you're doing something right, doesn't really matter where your bat's been before.
You are indeed. We are due a change, but not quite yet, actually. Well, I suppose we've got a couple more minutes. It's Andy Bear and Knackle. So we don't have enough men today for a three-man change, do we, Tim?
No, we do not, because I will be leaving.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was fine as it was, but okay.
Here's a lesser-known jingle.
I'm dehydrated, hallucinate. I need a drink and some ads. Please stop the play till I feel okay. Turn the cameras to the scantily clad.
Indeed. Well, when the Bear is back, we will effect our change, I think.
So it looks like it's going to be Josh Hazelwood.
It is. They've got the work experience guy on captions again on Sky, and now he's caught up. Or she.
Hazelwood, 10 overs, 2 maidens, 1 for 19 thus far this innings. He's bowled pretty well this morning. Got a couple of nip back against Joe Root. And he's the man currently trying to break through the wall that we've seen.
Been on 19 for a while, has Joe Root, has he not?
He has. Well, Tim Payne was on 49 for a long time yesterday.
He was on 10 for a good 20 balls as well.
Yeah.
But that's it. Got to learn how to play a test innings.
Here we
go. Drinks break. And first ball after the drinks break. Short into the pitch by Hazelwood. Nicely played out into the covers by Burns. So little pace on it that they managed to get back for 2, and he moves on to 37.
New reactions says, keep doing what you're doing. Now, I don't know if he's saying that about Smith or if he's saying that to us, but we'll take it either way.
Yep.
If you're talking about Steve Smith, then yes, you do want him to keep doing what he's doing. If you're saying that to us, as in carry on,
We will.
We will.
Yeah.
But welcome anyway.
Indeed. Hazelwood 1 for 21 off his 10 overs and 1 ball so far. And Burns is facing up 37, not out. Short again, and they've clearly got a plan. And Burns has probably gone away and looked at the videos as well and said, Australia, this is how you get me out, huh? I am not going to play into your trap. And he just ducks underneath that. It's a trap.
He's caught in a trap.
Don't get caught in a trap.
No,
exactly.
you can't walk out.
You can't walk out.
No.
It's 72 for 2.
Jay Grover. This is quite long. I'm wondering if I should let the next ball from Hazelwood.
It's fine. It's a fast ball.
Maybe do it in instalments. No, honestly, Burns is
that
about
long?
to face.
Oh, okay.
Once you get past 3 lines, then you have to be careful between balls.
Okay. Hazelwood in. Ooh, that's a decent ball across Burns. Pulls his bat away. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt then. There's no run. Seems average length to Burns from stumps. Test 1, 7.1, 7.97, 8.09. So this is the shortest they've bowled to him in ever decreasing or ever increasing.
Yeah, that was the
shortness.
graphic I was showing you earlier from, or I tweeted in from the green room from CricViz. They've worked out with Burns that you get shorter and shorter because you don't like it up him.
No,
but
he's played
actually,
well
how
today.
many batsmen do?
No,
Well,
not many
if you
batsmen
deliver
do.
it well.
Exactly. The key question is being able to get out of the way of it and watching out for the full one. Defends that one. That is pretty full from Hazelwood. He gets forward and defends it out square on the offside.
Okay,
Point.
Jay
No
Grover,
run.
here it is.
Okay.
Go.
What is the criteria to join the Groucho Club? As I'm a convicted felon with the ability to stay awake for days on end whilst, if adequately stimulated, I'm assuming that with the bear as my sponsor, I'd be a shoo-in. I probably couldn't afford a pint there, mind. Actually, it's not bad.
It's about over 5. Yeah,
I
it's about £5 for a
you
bottle
have to
of beer.
pay.
They don't make their money from that revenue stream, do they?
It's largely for those in the media. It's sort of creative types, isn't it?
It
That's
is.
the Groucho.
I mean, I'm not a member. Dave was a member. That's how we got
David's
in
a
there.
member. Yeah.
They want about, I think, it's about £1,200 a year to join or be a member.
Yeah,
you need to be
it's not-
seconded.
it's
Which
not
for London club standards
massively
isn't
crazy.
that bad.
It's not
There's
that
a
bad.
They're a lot more expensive.
You know.
Yeah.
But then, food and everything's expensive.
Yeah. And they're a lot cheaper that I still can't get into. Still
Yeah,
can't
well,
afford,
exactly.
afford either.
Short, and Burns wears it on the upper part of his arm. It balloons up to pain, no run.
Peter Lloyd said it does help Smith's position that there were about 4 months this year without tests. Yes, it does. Jonah says Flintoff going on now. How Denley is only 1 score away from being one of England's greatest cricketers. Discuss.
What?
Well,
Denley?
Sorry, what?
Who said what?
Well, Jonah Jones
Hello, Jonah.
Says
must clearly be staying in touch with another channel as well. And I'll wait for Josh Hazelwood. As will.
He's
Rory
up to the
Burns.
crease. That's full and clipped nicely off his legs. Half stopped by mid-wicket, who was probably Travis Head or Marcus Harris. It's gone out towards the mid-wicket boundary, and I think they've run back for 3. That's pretty good running.
No, Jonah's in Australia. A couple of tweets earlier about
Yeah.
which I'm sorry I didn't read out, Jonah.
No, Jonah was. Jonah's been following us for a long
Well, the
time.
kangaroo picture is a giveaway.
Yeah.
But he says Flintoff going off on how Denley is only 1 score away from being one of England's greatest cricketers.
What?
Discuss. Well, that
All right.
what? That's,
Flintoff?
I'm only-
All right, that's
don't
bullshit
shoot the
there.
messenger.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
reading
exactly.
what's in front of me.
Bullshit.
As relayed by Jonah, the thoughts of
Flintoff.
Andrew Flintoff, who clearly
Surely he's
I
just-
think Flintoff's been enjoying the
Rates Joe
hospitality a bit
Denley.
too
Yeah,
much
exactly.
over lunchtime, if you ask
that
me.
may be. That may
They've
be,
shown him on
but that
screen
is what
here,
the
and
tweet
he's
says.
been looking pretty jovial.
he has been quite jovial. He's there with his Top Gear mates. Do you notice that?
Yeah. He's still got the same flat cap on as well as
Yeah,
the
he's
last
a
couple of
bit
days.
of a I mean, I don't mind Flintoff.
No, he's a nice guy,
but
he's,
he's a bit of a character.
I suppose this stage of his career it sort of pays to be controversial rather than
Yeah.
have any actual
Well, Michael Vaughan relies on that.
analytical substance. Yeah.
He was actually quite nice when I met him when I was doing the World Cup.
Vaughan.
Well, yeah, he was
fair enough.
when we were doing the World Cup and I was doing that Channel 2 thing. Burns around the wicket and his Lyon to him. He bit too full, quite flat, and he defends out to mid on. There's no run. When there was a couple of games in a row where we stayed in Taunton, and the BBC was staying there as well, and Dan was there. So I close to midnight, Dan was in the bar with Vaughan, and I joined them. That's going down the leg probably, carries on with the arm from Lyon around the wicket. It's 57 miles an hour. It's pretty flat, which means that I suggest that Lyon doesn't think there's much in this wicket for him. He's getting a bit frustrated.
He's been turning it, but he's been
but it's either turning too much, or it's too short to get it to be a troubling ball. Burns just worked that down to long leg for a single. Over the wicket. An attempted sweep by Root. He can sweep from out there quite happily. It's never going to be out LBW playing a shot, and he just missed it, as you say. He didn't go anywhere, no run. And we had a long conversation for about an hour and a half with him, me, Dan, and a couple of others, talking about 100 and stuff. He was all right, and he kept saying hello to me when he noticed me in the comms box after. Bloody hell! How did he get away with that? It was a filthy shot from Root. It was tossed up wide of the off stump, very 45-degree angle bat, trying to slap that through the cover as it turns inside edge, goes down onto his back boot, which is on about the leg stump, and just misses his leg stump. Horrible shot.
But why play that shot?
No need to play that shot whatsoever.
Boy, what on earth were you playing at?
And this time he goes back and defends a similar sort of ball right on his stumps, and that's the way to play it. And there is no run.
Jay Grover says, during the Test match sofa days, I seem to remember Norcross getting norovirus during the festive season. I'm sure this had no correlation with his alcohol consumption.
Yeah, no, that was in the 10-11 Ashes when we won. Yeah, he did. On the Boxing Day Test, funny enough, on the back foot, Root defends that back to Lyon, and there's no run, and we all had to cover for. Jesus, I go in from about midnight till 3 in the morning and get pissed in about half an hour and talk absolute nonsense.
Devin Wade says, morning chaps, I see Ovaltine Overton was shown the door while I slept this morning. Woke up humming the Cummings jingle, so not sure if it's a bad sign for the English batsman.
No, it's been doing all right.
It is very catchy. Umpire Bell wants to know. Sorry, go on.
What I was going to say, since Overton's been out, it's not been totally plain sailing, but it's quite placid, and England are doing okay.
Yeah, Umpire Bell wants to know, is it a 7:30 finish today, fellas? Yes, it is. Messi Jez says, it seems the Mancunians have an evil sense of humour, having charged the Australian excellent cricket correspondent Peter Layla 55,000 quid for a beer.
Oh yes.
And I thought the prices at the Woodhouse were steep. The Woodhouse, in case you don't know, is the pub just up the road from our studio.
Fine pub.
We have a change in bowler. None for 13 off of 6 overs so far with 4 maidens. It's this man.
He's had no swing! No swing since Cape Town! No swing since Cape Town!
And he doesn't get any swing there, and it's quite a nice drive by Burns. Doesn't time it perfectly. It's pretty full by Stark. A long half volley, which he doesn't time perfectly, as I said. Drives it through cover out towards the boundary. It's fielded by Cummins, and he gets back for 2. Moves on to 43.
Jay Grover says £1,200 is about the value of my flat. So even
I'm sure it's worth more than that.
Even with the Bears' patronage, I think I might be found wanting. Messi Jazz says, replying to Umpire Bell's question, yes, 7 for 730, as it were. I think that's about right, Messrs. Lou Britton Sack. I'll wait for a moment. Hello to you.
Burns faces up. Stark is in. Horrible delivery down the leg side. No need to play at that. No need to even duck. Just watch it past, and he does. And it's through to Payne. There's no run.
1720 is a cricket team from Philadelphia toured England, says Lou Britton Sack. I say bollocks. Smith is still shite to watch. Dallas Nash says, remember Flintoff as a member of the Flat Earth Society as well as the Flat Cap.
Is he? He is, isn't he?
Surely as a joke.
No, I don't think so.
Really? No sane person can be.
No, I know the Flat Earth Society are a bunch of complete morons, but I mean, if you believe that shit, I don't know. That's a nice shot by Burns. Plays that down into the ground. Timing didn't trying to hit it too hard. Played with the pace of the ball. It stood up outside his off stump. Still a fair bit to do.
2 + 2 is a
full face of the bat and a straight bat, and it goes out to the point boundary for 4.
Makes me laugh. Haven't the Flat Earth Society 2 years running now held their sort of annual Christmas event in a pub called the Globe? Which
wouldn't surprise
Which is
me.
always quite amusing. Roger Melly says, I reckon Travis Head and Marcus Harris should swap names. Marcus Head and Travis Harris works a lot better.
I like that. That's into the hip of Burns. He works it square down the long leg. He's going to come back for 2. Is that wise? It is wise. I get that now. And that moves him on to 49. Come on, Burnsy.
Ooh.
He's doing all right off 99 deliveries.
So he's about
itching for a
a
jingle.
third of the way to where he needs to be for England to be in good order.
We are going to have a change at the end
We
of the
are
over.
indeed. We have
you two are going to
Andy.
leave.
I am.
I'm going to carry on because I've got to go and do kiddie things.
Yep, I'm going to leave permanently because I've got a kids' party to go to.
Well, there you go.
Living the dream.
I've got to go and take kids swimming. But I'll be back in between taking kids swimming, and once I've dropped them back home after kids swimming, I'll be back here to the end of the game. But it's the next couple of hours are a bit hairy and scary. A lot of driving to be done. Stark is in and edged through the vacant third
Double
slip.
jingle.
Nice.
For one of these.
Yeah, 4
And if you
runs.
kids can't listen and you bound to see the way you get shot for crossing a boundary, crossing a boundary.
Which means he's got one of these.
When you're 50, sometimes you drink till you pass out on the floor. Now your liver's destroyed and you got hemorrhoids and you can barely get it up anymore.
Yeah, it's funny because it's true.
Yeah. I'm staying in, yeah.
53, Rory Burns.
53.
Not out, importantly.
And not out. And hopefully he's starting to feel like maybe this is my spot in the England team.
Jinx.
If you look at the stats, he's not doing too bad as an opener, really. That's dropped short by Stark over his head, and there ain't no run. We're all going to have a switcheroo, but since Tim didn't play a jingle, I'm going to wait for Knackle to sit in his seat, and then I'm going to make way for Mr. Andy Ward.
Yep, you owe us all right. You think this alternative cricket commentary stuff comes cheap? Well, we need some dollar bills to help pay our bills, so please go to patreon.com/GorillaCricket and sign up to make a regular monthly donation. You know there is literally nothing like Gorilla Cricket's coverage, so don't be tight. Dip into your virtual pocket and throw some cash our way. See, Rihanna knows. Patreon.com/GorillaCricket.
Pay me what you want it.
That's right, stuff that cash right down our G-string. England 88 for 2. And everyone calling jinx just there for Rory Burns, just like they did to me an hour ago. But he's still there as he plays Nathan Lyon down to short leg for no run.
Or rather, as Joe Root plays Nathan Lyon down to short leg.
Thank you.
But what do you think of the wicket? I think the wicket's pretty true,
I'm not
isn't it?
seeing a lot. I mean, it's
No.
obviously not particularly quick with the moist. With the
It's quite a nice bounce,
the square
though.
looks like a bit of a swamp, but the wicket seems to be fine. That one turned a bit from Lyon, and Root basically left it alone. It flicked his pad on the way through to short fine leg. Even though Marnus Labuschagne has his hands on his head.
Spinners Union again. But would you go round the wicket now to Root if you were Nathan Lyon?
I'd be tempted, but are you going to get that much turn off the if you're bowling around the wicket, you're bowling more into sort of middle and off and middle, and that's the.
Still over at the moment. Root sees it's outside off stump, goes for a sweep, beats short fine leg. There should be someone down there though. Well, it takes him a while to get round Travis Head, and they'll come back for 2.
I just think with this line, because the turn is fairly predictable. He can get outside off stump, he can take LBW out of the equation, he's hanging on the back foot, every now and again he's been drawn forward. I just think it might make him play more if Lyon goes round the wicket.
It might do, but it might not turn so much. It might be more. It might sit up a little bit more and allow a little single.
He could bowl with more overspin, so try and beat Root in the flight a little bit, get more bounce.
Yeah, you might want to give it a go.
He's still over for now, and Root in his characteristic style goes back, and that goes to backward square leg for no run.
Just a thought. Root looks relatively comfortable when he's been able to play Lyon off the back foot with Lyon going over the wicket.
Well, that's the method Joe Root has worked out for the spinners over the last few years, and it has served him pretty well. Lyon's going to see what he can do about it. A slip and a short leg. That one is fuller, but it's outside off stump, and Root drops it between the fielders, and they scamper through for a single.
That, by the way, was Rory Burns' 5th test score of 50 or more, 3 of which have been in this series. He got his 53 off 100 balls with 7 fours.
Well, Jeff Perkins says, having bowled at Lords, how can Flintoff believe in a flat Earth? This is true.
Oh, I heard you talking about that. Yeah, like Tony was saying, a lot of people sort of see that as an exercise in being able to argue something that's not true. It's like an arguing exercise. They don't
Like
actually
debate class.
believe it. You basically, yes.
But I think Flintoff said on a radio show he believes in a flat Earth.
Yeah, well, he's a moron then.
No, that's what I said.
That one's a bit shorter, and Burns plays it out to a wide
Exactly.
mid-off and takes another single.
I mean, you know, God's crazy, but so's a flat Earth.
You've never actually seen a ship come over the horizon.
I was in Michigan not that long ago, and Lake Michigan is so big you can see the curvature of the Earth on the horizon.
There you go. Fucking morons. Anyway, Jay Grover says, did Tim just say that's quite reasonable for a London club? Oh, please, please, please come to Sheffield. We'll put the carpet out. That's £1,200 to join a Groucho. Yeah, maybe.
There are some places in London. I was having a drink in a place in Streatham where the guest ale was £2.50 a pint.
Ooh,
It's quite nice too.
That's good pricing. Pull up the bumper, baby, says Shoe Bill.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll be our friend Nestle. Now I know your handle, Mr. Nestle boy.
A little bit of Grace Jones can't go wrong. Oh, and adorning Andy's t-shirt.
Looking suitably unimpressed with everything as she always does.
Well, yes.
There seems a bit of a delay for this over, but it is still Mitchell Starc. He was bowling before, wasn't he?
Yes, this is the second over of his second spell today.
And they're showing no signs of letting up on this short ball attack to Rory Burns. The field is the same, 2 slips a gully. Burns is playing a bit more freely at balls he might have left earlier in his innings, and he's got that one between gully and point. Going to take 2 Nathan Lyons after it. They should get 3. Comfortable 3 it is.
Well, he's faced 103 balls now. He's got his 50. He should be feeling quite comfortable.
Yeah,
if he's a man, he goes, I'm going to get a ton now, at least.
I think he's a man, however much he scores. He's scoring at just over 3 runs and over. He has looked pretty comfortable against Nathan Lyon, and I think he's played the short ball well.
Today he has, yeah.
It certainly seems to be settling back into it. It's not helping Australia's over rate that they have 2 such wildly different fields for these batsmen. I know one's a left-hander, but even so, for Burns, they've got men back on the leg side and so on. The route is more conventional. Starc is bowling across to 3 slips and a gully. Here he comes. That's down leg though, and Root's not missing that. He's clipped it down to fine leg, and he'll get a comfortable 4 runs.
This was the worry Australia had with Mitchell Starc, because he's an out-and-out attacking bowler, but he can slightly spray it around a little bit, and with his slightly slingy action, as you were saying, Andy, he's not quite upright at the point of release. The arm's coming through a bit low, and suddenly he can lose his line. Whether they've gone for the control of Siddle and Pattinson throughout the series thus far. Obviously, Starc has been brought in because this pitch wasn't expected to do as much, and that seems to be the case, and he can sort of take the pitch out of the equation, as they say, but he's not quite got it right so far.
No, we haven't seen any swing at all in this test, really. And
it's
that's
quite surprising, really, isn't
main
it?
weapon. Oh, it's all in the atmosphere and the conditions, isn't it? And
it's
the
quite
fates.
overcast at the moment.
It doesn't tend to swing so much if there's damp in the air, though, does it? Anyway, that one's played back to the bowler. He does
Maybe
manage
true.
to pick that up, and there's no run. But again, Australia falling between 2 stools, because now they've left him out for 3 tests, and he hasn't really had a bowl since the World Cup.
Yeah.
Well, he bowled his bowling couple of the warm-up matches. He took 7 wickets in that warm-up game against Derbyshire's sort of first and a half 11. Even so, and he's not bowling those sort of full one-day international attacking lengths that served him so well in that World Cup. Bowling even fuller than most fast bowlers do.
Well, the red ball is supposed to swing more at the start of the innings. Anyway, Starc's in again. That one's again on the pads, and again Root's not missing it. He's beaten square leg, who's chasing after it. Looks like Travis Head, but there's no one to help him from the outfield, and they should pick up another 3. They've run well, this pair.
They have,
yeah,
indeed.
all run 4 in the first couple of overs.
Set the tone, yes. And England have got the deficit below 400. It's 102 for 2, and they trail by 395.
Oh, Mike Kivy says Flintoff surely has to believe in a flat Earth, as he was a flat track bully. Boom, boom.
It's not
short
really
third
true.
Man, no, I know. Short third man says the Earth is flat, but sloped at an angle. that's what. Yes, okay. Peter Lloyd says the Flintoff flat eartherism was on the One Show, I believe, and was and was on the lines of. I've watched these videos on YouTube. We had an expert on as well who punched holes in quick, and Freddie was. Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Well,
maybe true. I'd heard he was a proper flat earther.
Oh, sorry, that one's gone through to Payne over the shoulder for no run. Are you saying that Flintoff recanted his flat earth?
Maybe
views?
he did.
Yeah, when someone who actually knows something explained it to him.
Exactly.
How you say debunk? Did they just bring out a globe?
Well,
there are a million ways you can debunk it. Right back to when, Aristarchus basically proved it in 400 BC that the Earth was a globe.
Oh, Jay Grover says the Brown Bear, Sam Smith, next to the Crucible, 187 for a bitter.
There you go. Drink yourself to death cheaply. That one's left alone by Payne, who found something funny. Obviously not my previous remark. And there's no run.
It's a bit of a waste of a delivery from Stark. It was miles outside off stump.
Yeah, he just seemed to be struggling to get his lines. I understand that's the end of the over, by the way, 102 for 2. I understand they felt that they needed to, well, A, rest the bowlers a little bit, although Siddle would still have been reasonably fresh, and B, that this particular game might suit Stark a little bit more, but hasn't panned out so far.
What do we got on Twitter and or Facebook and or YouTube?
Well, Jago qualifies that, but there's a reason he looks shell-shocked, whimpering and confused whenever he goes to London. There's 187 bitters up at the Brown Bear. And sorry, M says our stream isn't working on the website. Check that.
Yeah, please do keep us up. Well, obviously you can't hear this if the stream isn't working, but yeah, let us know if there are any technical issues. We do like to check these things.
Well, we want as many of you as possible to hear our words of whatever they are. Lyon's going to come back in. He's not heeded those words to come round the wicket. He's still over, and Root taps it past short leg. There's a man behind him to cover, and there's no run.
Yeah, glad to say that the stream is fine. So we'll just tweet back to you, telling you to refresh, and hopefully all will be well.
More of a ring field for Nathan Lyon. He's got 6 men sort of in the ring, plus a short leg and a slip, and only 1 man out somewhere, I guess, deep square leg. As Root again chops that past his off stump this time. It's almost like that the most likely way Australia are going to get a wicket is a played on, but that time it got past everyone for 4.
1 2 ka 4 4 2 ka 1. My name is Lakhan. My name is Lakhan.
An attempted late cut by Joe Root, which I'm not sure is the best option in the circumstances. And he got an under edge, and it beat off stump. By a whisker.
He had to reset himself there because he'd set himself for that cut, and then had to sort of try and get his feet out of the way. Cutting off the stumps isn't easy.
Turned in a little bit more than he was expecting. That was a full, and he's getting a bit more turn. Nathan Lyon. Rory Burns is halfway down the wicket, but he manages to get back in time. Nathan Lyon picks up the throw. Oh, how he wished he'd done that at Headingley.
Not the best throw.
Now, of all those people, Umpire Bell says, .com says, tell me again, chaps, how can I match up TV coverage with your coverage so they are in sync? Well, the best thing to do is figure out which is ahead, pause one at a delivery or a shot. And when you hear us say he does that, or you can ask us and we could say, right now, Lyon is coming up to bowl, he delivers now.
Which he did, and Root clipped it down to backward square leg, and again there's no run. But to do that on your TV, you will need a box. You'll need a sky box or some other kind of.
So that, by the way, was the 4th ball of Nathan Lyon's 10th over.
Exactly. So you can do it via that. Figure out which is on ahead, pause one or the other. And you can I've done it myself. It's good fun.
Lyon comes in again. And another sweep from Root. He's identifying the line, and if he knows he's outside off stump, he's having to go at the sweep. That did go straight to short fine leg for no run.
Yeah, they brought that short fine leg in, who I don't think was there before. I think he was back on the boundary. I was saying that I would quite like a leg slip or a leg gully in place for Nathan Lyon because of the amount he's turning the ball from outside off stump.
It's another option they can consider to the right-hander, certainly if he's going to stay over the wicket. And Root's back to that one, dabs it into the offside. It's another quick single. And it was on the line of the fielder, so I think he'll be a bit disappointed with that.
Indeed. Tony Bishop from next door says, a stat from CricViz. The CricViz analyst says, when Rory Burns made his first ton at Edgbaston, it was streaky and concluded 23% full shots. So far, he's playing 21%.
Well, we need to up that a little bit then.
Yeah, there's been a few play and misses, but well inside the line of the ball.
I wonder, if you're doing this analysis, there's always a bit of a. I mean, I was on with Tony earlier on, and Tony was calling some of them leaves, and I was calling some of them play and misses. When the batsman just pulls it back.
I have to say, Andy, I was with you when I was watching that.
But if you're one of these stats guys sort of tracking false shots, you've got to make a judgment call on some of those.
That's true.
Sure, and does a sort of half sort of play a short ball down the leg side where you don't really get anywhere near the ball count as a false shot? Or
probably. I think anything you miss or don't middle, apart from what you leave, is what I would expect.
Yeah, those ones where you play way inside the line of the ball. That's moving are tricky ones to judge. Long discussion between Mitchell Stark and Tim Payne about the field.
I'm not sure, and like Bystand's taking a piss here. He's really stretching my memory now, but it was a question. This is going back to Flat Earth and Flintoff. The question that was answered as to dispute it was flat. How come you can't see the US from Ireland? Well, I said it's 3,000 miles away, and therefore that's a good reason. Horizontal, no. I think that'd be out of your field of vision.
Yeah.
Anyway, umpire Bell says good target practice there for Butler with the Yorkie flag on the balcony. Oh, lanky, okie dokie. In between the star, James Buxley thinks the world is shaped like a bowl of porridge.
Or a bowl of anything.
That's
Soup.
Roger Melly.
Not sure why it's porridge. Stark over the wicket, full ball route. Could have driven maybe, but he ended up just playing it out to mid-wicket. He made a one-handed stop. That's Marnus Labuschagne.
Given that that's from Roger Melly, is that actually a thing from Viz and therefore not real?
I don't know. No, it's in the Mirror.
Well, again,
unless you're photoshopping stuff, Roger Melly.
Yeah, they've changed the field a little bit now, so they've got a man in at mid-wicket as well as two men back on the hook, so it's a bit more of a sort of orthodox, almost ring field on the leg side now.
But yeah, you've got some absolutely mental videos on YouTube, like people flying from Australia to South America with a spirit level next to them going, aha. Root plays that one down to gully. He's just got a hand on it, but he hasn't fielded it, and they will get through for one run.
Is that a sub-fielder, or is that Marcus Harris, who I just don't quite recognise facially?
I think it's Marcus Harris, yes, but it's rare these days that teams don't have a sub-fielder on somewhere.
England had two on at the same time yesterday. They had both Chris Woakes and Sam Curran on at the point that Sam Curran dropped his catch.
Yes, exactly. You only realise the sub-fielder's on when he drops a catch. That's not a good look.
We are followed on Twitter by England's sub-fielder at Headingley, Carl Carver. Hello, Carl, if you're listening.
Absolutely. And I'm sure he has spent his time on the pitch.
The leg gully's come out now, I think, into mid-wicket. So
yes, I think that was the chat. The chat was what to do when Burns gets back on strike, and they're easing up on this bodyline field. There's still a long leg, but there's no one close to the wicket on the leg side. Stark still bows it shortish on middle stump, and Burns plays it down to square leg. There's no run. We
were seeing some clips before play started of Mitchell Johnson. So could Stark consider going round the wicket to Rory Burns, the left-hander, as Johnson did to the likes of Michael Carberry and other England left-handers during that 2013-14 Ashes? Make it that little bit harder for Rory Burns to line up?
Maybe. I mean, he was talking about that armpit ball, wasn't he? It's a little bit of a blind spot for a batsman. They don't seem to have done it. They seem to. The basic trap seems to be bowling across. Left arm bowling sort of across into the leg side and getting him into flick to leg gully or the keeper like that. That was a bit fuller, but that was almost sixth stump outside leg, and Burns might feel he's missed out a little bit there.
We have some people on YouTube. Shivan Kashwar says, good evening, sir. Good evening to you. Lequat Jigri thinks Test should be a draw.
It's certainly moved that way with this long partnership, and both batsmen looking fairly set. Burns is at 107 balls and Root 76.
Ronan, GL. He's an Aussie in Netherlands, and he says, explaining cricket is a mission impossible in the Netherlands. They can't understand why don't make up for rain delays in cricket. They have a cricket team.
The Netherlands have a long tradition of club cricket.
Exactly. Burns played that one down to mid-wicket, and they picked up a single. Remember that video, which I think tickled you very much, the Dutch sort of version of cricket where they're bowling hoops around and sort of walking back and forwards with pipes, and it's sort of their impressions of cricket.
But there's quite a lot of cricket played in the Netherlands. That mid-wicket's now going out to sort of backward square leg back on the boundary.
And yeah, the fielders moving further and further away from Roy Burns on the leg side. And more defensive. Stark comes in again. That one's a length ball, an off stump, which Burns covers up. Nice net shot, extra cover is round. Do we think maybe this is the last of Mitchell Stark for a little while?
How many overs has he bowled in this stint? 1, 9, I think.
9 altogether.
No, sorry, as in this, just in this spell.
Only 4 or 5, but as you said in the green room, it does look like a plan of Nathan Lyon from one end and rotate the seamers from the other.
Well, at some point, they're going to get bored with Nathan Lyon not getting wickets. And that's when it plays into England's hands, isn't it? Suddenly you've
which terrible leg spinners do they bowl, Labuschagne or Smith?
Labuschagne first, I believe.
He's bowled 3 overs in this spell and has gone for...
Seems like a lot more.
12 to 22 plus... Yeah, he's gone for 23 in those 3 overs. We've had
in 3 overs?
Yeah, in this 3 over spell.
Oh, okay.
It's particularly poor in that first one. We've had a subscriber on Patreon. Welcome, David Pearson.
Hello, Mr. Pearson.
Always good. Thank you very much. Lyon. Going to continue. Tongue stuck out. Not sure if that means that's the other ball. Root ambles down the track. Plays it back to cover. Ambles down a bit more. Points his bat at Burns to say no.
Didn't he give it a name? He gave his sort of saucer ball a name. He called it Jeff.
That's not how naming balls work.
I think he was taking a piss, wasn't he?
Of course, Shane Warne had 4 different names for the ball that doesn't spin later in his career.
The Zooter. No, what were the other ones?
I think the Zooter and the slider were real. The rest were made up.
Root is back and again just dabs it into the offside in Australia, getting a bit frustrated, I think, by just allowing those singles there because Root just takes all the pace off, drops it down, it sticks in those practice wickets and scamper through for a run.
He's playing French cricket there. He went very square on and just sort of fiddled his hands in a way that it went out into the offside.
That's right. Lyon looks like he's going to come round the wicket now, but of course that's to the left-handed Burns.
I'm very behind on tweets.
Go for those then, yeah.
I will do. Starting from after this ball, I think.
Well, the line doesn't give you a lot of time, but we'll do our best. A forward silly mid off. Oh, and a little bit of turn away from Burns there. He plays that down to backward point for no run.
Message is, I love his taste. Changed his handle to post-headingly stressed disorder. I like that. I'm happy to be able to tell you, courtesy of my Weatherspoons app, that you can get a pint of Doom Bar for £2 at the Moon and Stars in Penge. That'll be our Weatherspoons, man.
Don't patronise Weatherspoons.
Exactly. Guy's a twat. He's actually a Bradman, and I can't say it on air.
Lyon is in, can't you? I think you can for him. And that was played down to backward point again by Burns, and there's no run.
Devon Wade says, I love how flat earthers and anti-vaxxers are only alive due to the science that they so eloquently deny. So many of them here in America. Good to know that GC team have their heads on straight. Absolutely with you, Devon. And a bunch
That's
of
not a high bar to be.
No, it's not. Exactly. Why can you be so thick?
Lyon comes in. And again turns, and Burns plays it back to silly mid-off. If you're wondering if there is any natural justice in the world, Dr. Andrew Wakefield, of course no longer a doctor, Andrew Wakefield, is now shagging Elle Macpherson.
Is he?
Yep.
Fucking hell, man.
Yeah, I thought...
That's an outrage.
That paper had a bit of a resurgence recently.
Of course it did.
It's one of the people who's done most damage to humanity in his lifetime.
This has got 1,000 babies' blood on his hands.
I don't normally do this, but this is what annoys me about, Brexiteers. They go... I don't trust it, Project Fear. And you go, well, would you trust your doctor? Yeah, why don't you trust that expert, but you'll trust that one? It's just like fucking madness.
And you trust the one who tells you what you want. Played by Burns. Lyon gets a hand on it, goes through to mid-on, and there's no run. It's 109 for 2. It has been very entertaining, just Johnson getting a new one torn for him on a daily basis.
Well, I think
everyone.
I think the defection mid-speech was quite a fun mic drop move.
Yeah.
Matt Searle. Oracle Matt, he bought a t-shirt off us recently, and of course you can do our World Cup t-shirt, which we took off the web because we got threatened, but you can, if you get in touch with us, we can send you one of those. It's £25 plus postage. Matt Searle says, re-pause the TV to sync with you guys. That's how he watched the World Cup final. Pause the TV so that you were covering the same deliveries on TV. Best of both worlds. It was indeed. It was a great final. Jay Grover, apropos of the flat earth, when my auntie worked as the head mistress in the village school for Dalits outside Nella and Madras, she had a problem showing the parents that the world was round. I was there in 1986 and a group of people assembled to point and laugh.
Stark is continuing. He bowls it across route. He gets a thickish outside edge down to point, and there's no run.
Speaking of India, I was talking to my my cousin, who's just who has a sort of 2 and a bit year old, I think, just under 2 maybe, and in India, and she said, like, this anti-vaxxer thing just isn't a thing in India.
Oh,
really? It's just not really. You get your kid vaccinated when the doctor
absolutely.
tells you to get your kid
Exactly.
vaccinated.
I'm a scientist, totally down with that. You know, these guys know better than I do. Yeah, there's always a risk to everything, but the risk is far less.
Stark's full again to root. Again, might feel he's missed out. He's just thick inside edge up to mid-on.
Little hint of swing there for Mitchell Stark. You do sometimes see this.
He has to bowl very full to get it, though.
And it is kind of out of a hand, yeah. You do sometimes see this where the lacquer comes off the ball. Just on that one, by the way, there is no proven link at all between the MMR vaccine and autism. And also, autism, plenty of people with autism live very full and fulfilling lives anyway.
There's a whole spectrum.
And there are some people who genuinely can't get vaccinated because of the risk of reactions. Yeah. And so their immunity is based on other people getting vaccinated.
Yeah, Stark is in. Again, he seems to have a plan of bowling fuller to root, and it's down to backward point for no run. Again, a low bar for us, proving that the Earth is round and vaccines are helpful.
Well, exactly. Alex Jacques on YouTube says, had an earful today from work from all the Aussies. Not sure they realise this is going to end in a draw. And England seem to actually play when something is on the line.
If you can't give
off recent games.
I mean, if you can't give them an earful when you've got nearly 500 in the first innings, when can you?
Well, exactly. But I mean, I'm with you, Alex. I thought this yesterday, and I said it today already. I think this pitch is actually quite pretty bloody flat. It's not doing a lot, and there's always a chance of weight of runs that England can fuck it up.
That was a bit better from Stark. It looked foolish, but then he got up on Joe Root and it's hit him. I think that's caught him inside a thigh, just where the thigh pad doesn't cover, rather than in the actual Labuschagnes.
Do you think so? I thought I hit him in the actual Labuschagnes.
Let's have another look. Oh no, you're right. You're right.
Dead on the end, mate. Oh, that's pain.
Few balls, please.
Ouch!
Yeah, and it surprised me because
really
it did come up from a length, and we were just saying how docile the pitch was, but that one seemed to get up out of nowhere.
A little misjudged that, didn't he?
He's got a smile on his face.
Well, Anis Rao says, well, if you guys aren't talking about anything really, the game is going on. Can you explain the different types of membership that cricketing nations have with the ICC?
Well, yes, full members and associate membership. Affiliate membership doesn't exist anymore, which means that very new cricketing nations, like Iceland, who we partner with on few occasions, are finding it harder to get the games and the funding and the facilities they need, because you have to satisfy so many different criteria to get associate membership, which affiliate membership used to be a pathway into, but that's not the case anymore. I think Joe Root's box might have been broken by that impact.
I think it has been. He's
Cue David Lloyd back on screen for his famous anecdote.
Everything that was inside
was outside. It should have been inside, was outside, yes.
Emmett Riordan says, on the way to Westport in Mayo, I presume that's County Mayo, with 11 litres of Aldi red wine and Gorilla Cricket on the Bluetooth.
Just
perfect pairing.
Just for
11 litres, Jesus.
You should jump inside
Mo,
that
Marty and
drink your way
Jason,
out.
so there's 3 of them, so that's at least, 3, nearly 4 litres each of wine. You have a good night, my man. You have a good night. Jay Grover says, the Globe was preposterously hilarious to them. It's a surprisingly hard thing to explain if you're standing on flat ground with people who've never left their village. Maybe true. Neymar Butlins says, don't like flat earth, grew up in East Anglia, now live in California with mountains, and I'm not going to say that, and women with big mountains. Anyway, onto YouTube.
There is a mountain range in, I think in St. Lucia, called the Grand Téton, which literally means the big tits.
Nice.
With Joe Root still having some repairs to various bits of him and his equipment, so you're not missing anything.
Sorry, that's the pitons. There is a mountain range somewhere called the Grand Téton.
Yeah, the pitons are in St. Lucia.
Any more tweets? We're still going highlights here.
We got some stuff on YouTube. It's all kicking off over here. The sport says maybe barring collapse from England, Alex, which is nearly due. That's about the draw. I'm not sure it's going to happen. Michael Ward says, so if the Earth's round, how does water stay on the ground in Australia?
Yeah, why doesn't everyone...
Don't say gravity. With a knife in a cup and tilt it upside down, it'll fall out. Oh, please.
We've got to be careful talking flat earth and MMR with YouTube, actually.
Yes, I think so, probably. Sport, start reverse swing beginning? Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Orthodox swing, I think. I'd like to see the shiny and non-shiny sides of the cricket ball. Everyone, of course, is laughing at Joe Root, who has his fair share of laughing at people when they've been hit in uncomfortable places.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. He's well known for having a good old lol at Alistair Cook after he took one in the field.
Oh God, PJ Meter, the flat earther, wants to be coach, rolls eyes. Ashes 2019, Andrew Flintoff would love to be England coach one day.
Oh, I've read that one before,
So,
yes.
hang on, I can see how that one... Someone asked Andrew Flintoff, would you like to be coach? Yes, I would.
Yeah, true. Fuku Life says, Bear, when you met Vorney, did you play on the jingle? No, I didn't. Jay Grover says, I never thought to ask before, but can Andy apply his poker skills to reading a bowler's tell?
I don't know. I was talking about Nathan Lyon sticking his tongue out because apparently that's what Brad Hogg used to do. He would stick his tongue out.
Oh, lots of left arm spinners do that. Paul Adams used to do it too.
But he then put this story out that the way he was that this was a signal to the wicketkeeper, but actually it wasn't. He was trying to confuse the batsman. And we're talking about Andrew Flintoff and
he's
his
tucking into another beer
coaching. And I noticed he is not currently off coaching somewhere. He is in a hospitality box necking beers.
As is Graham Onions, who we can see on screen.
He looks like he's had quite a few actually, Flintoff.
Onions is joining the commentary team. He was on comms on the T20 last night.
He was, wasn't he? Yeah. Grice Squire says, misheard on Gorilla Cricket, number 3. Aristarchus bowling short.
Yes, that was
I was in the shower.
the early days
it
of
was
Test
Stark
cricket.
is bowling short, but on Gorilla you never know.
Greeks were the predominant team in the 3 and 400 BCs.
That'd be Aristarchus of the Samoan Premier League then, says Messages. Gus Somerville says, interesting you mentioned about vaccines in India. In Pakistan there's a strong anti-vax movement in parts of the country based on the not entirely unfounded belief that foreign aid doctors are US spies and saboteurs.
That's actually true. The CIA had operatives posing as doctors giving out polio vaccines when they were trying to find bin Laden.
Oh my God.
Here comes Stark. What a world we live in. Swings a little bit after it goes past Joe Root, and there's no run.
And so, as a result, the polio rates... Pakistan had almost eradicated polio. Polio has now made a comeback in Pakistan.
Great.
Thank you, the CIA.
Thank you, the CIA, indeed. No. Mark Zip says, can you give us a very quick explanation on the full shots mentioned? Well, I think Andy came up with that. It's one person's perception
Well, we're
of
guessing.
full shots.
We're guessing. And there's always a judgment call in between. What's an edge and what's a thick edge and what's most of
it's
the
same
bat.
with Crickinfo's control percentages. Someone says whether the batsman was in control.
Someone has to just decide it in the end, yes. Stark to complete the over. Root bashes it through the offside, but it goes straight to point. There's no running. At 109 for 2, they trail by 388.
Some flat earth shit kicking off on YouTube.
Of course, on YouTube, yes.
Sports reporter. Oh my God, Michael. To the man talking about gravity and water falling out of Australia.
I'm sure that last person was joking, though.
I hope so, but he didn't have a smiley face icon at the end of his thing, an emoji. Look at how the direction he changes when snipers have to account for, he says. That's gravity.
That's gravity because stuff falls down if you throw it or fire it.
Yes.
The great thing... No, I'll continue with the tweets. Is probably more important, Joe.
Yeah, okay, everyone's cracking on about anti-vax. Okay.
No, in that case, the great thing about flat earth theories is not just that they exist, it's how many they are and how they all contradict each other.
Well,
that thing you were talking about, Bear, has happened. Nathan Lyon has been pulled out of service at the James Anderson end to be replaced by this man.
Should have a change.
This is a jingle for Josh Hazelwood. This is a jingle for Josh Hazelwood.
Probably the most threatening of Australian bowlers in this innings. He's on 1 for 24. But Burns and Root looking fairly well set. The job is, as the jingle says, only halfway done. They want to put another 100 on. And then see if they can get England towards or even past Australia's total of 497. And England, even if this game does turn into a draw, it'll be a moral victory for England to take a first innings lead. But that's a long way away. Burns into the leg side, mid-wicket picks up and there's no run. What I'm saying is some flat earthers will tell you that gravity is actually because the Earth is falling through space at 9.8 meters per second per second.
But then everything would be weightless.
No, but it's going the other way.
No.
I don't. Look, don't ask me to explain this crazy stuff. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
You did a sort of Bernie Sanders throw your hands up in exasperation there.
I love Bernie Sanders.
No.
Really? What's your issue with him?
He's old and a little bit out of touch. I think Elizabeth Warren would be my...
Disagree. Warren's too corporatist. Hazelwood comes in. Burns rather edgily gets that up to mid-on, and there is no run.
I like Elizabeth Warren's plan for basically cancelling all student debt and making university education free. And
Sanders has exactly the same plan.
Wasn't it? As far as I know, it was Elizabeth Warren who kind of dragged that into the conversation. But
no, I'm not totally against Elizabeth Warren. I think she has too much of a corporatist background. She doesn't go far enough in corporatist reform. But I like 90% of what she does. Yeah, I just prefer Sanders.
For America, that's probably far enough, isn't it? It's incremental. Anyway, I've got to go because I've got to go and take children swimming.
Hazelwood is in, and that's a more solid defence by Burns up to mid-on, and there's no run. Luckily, we will still be here to talk American left-of-centre politics.
Which is short legs come in place. We've also got a man back on the hook, and someone else is putting someone else is taking shin pads off, because Nathan Lyon's no longer operating, so Labuschagne can divest himself of what looks some fairly hefty shin pads.
Well, they now have special trousers that can go over shin pads because they got little zips at the bottom. Maybe I'm a bit old school. I think if you're going to field short leg, a helmet and a box is enough, and if you need shin pads, you're too close. Hazelwood is in, and Burns drops it into the offside. Half thinks about the run. Root says no.
But yeah, Matthew Wade is in there at forward short leg. We'll be having a change at the end of the over, is that correct? I'm coming on to ball by ball. Andy Ward is going on to tweets, and Tony Bishop is coming on to jingles, and that'll take you through till tea.
And it will be some permutation of the three of us for until the bear comes back. There'll be no rest for the wicked.
We've got two slips and a gully, as well as the
mostly with
short
hands
leg and
in their pockets as the bowler comes in. Hope they've taken them out now. Down the leg side, too far, and Burns picks this one up. But there's a bit of comedy fielding in the deep. Looks like Labuschagne takes about 4 goes to get hold of it. He does. He's still only got 2, so it's on to 111 for 2.
David Warner at first slip threw his hands up in slightly Bernie Sanders-ish style, saying, "What was that?"
It was clipped nicely by Burns from outside off stump, and a bit of Labuschagne managed to field that with most of parts of his body at various times. Still kept it down to 2. And a man who spent most of his time in the field underneath the bat is now consigned to the deep. Hazelwood to complete the over. Just the short leg, and that's again a poor ball down the leg side. Burns misses out that time. There's no run though. It's the end of the over. It's 111 for 2. England trail by 386.
And we'll give you a little bit of a word about how you can support the show.
Yep, you owe us all right. You think this alternative cricket commentary stuff comes cheap? Well, we need some dollar bills to help pay our bills, so please go to patreon.com/GorillaCricket and sign up to make a regular monthly donation. You know there is literally nothing like Gorilla Cricket's coverage, so don't be tight. Dip into your virtual pocket and throw some cash our way. See, Rihanna knows. Patreon.com/GorillaCricket.
Yes, indeed. Please support our continued endeavours. You're listening to Gorilla Cricket's coverage of the 2019 Men's Ashes. You're us partway through day 3 of the 4th test with the series 1-all. Mitchell Starc is bowling left arm over the wicket to the right-handed Joe Root, who plays an attempted late cut which bounces well in front of Stephen Smith at second slip, who does well to parry this and make sure that no run is possible. Joe Root, England captain's on 36 off 85. Rory Burns is on 59 off 119. These two have put on a very useful partnership indeed of 86 thus far, their second 50 stand of the series. England 111 for 2, trailing by 386 after Stephen Smith's magnificent 211 and 50s for Labuschagne and Payne, and Starc got Australia up to 497 for 8 declared. Mitchell Stark in, none for 36 off his 10.1 overs, is in, left arm over the wicket, back of a length, and Joe Root again plays this backward a square, but this time does beat the fielder. This time Gully beats his right hand, and backward point has to do an awful lot of work to attempt to cut off 4, but Nathan Lyon is unable to do so. Root picks up 4 and moves to 40.
You can't listen and you bound to see the way you get shot for crossing a boundary, crossing a boundary.
Joe Root for a tall man does play well backward a square on the offside, particularly off the back foot. He's not quite Kane Williamson in that area, but he's pretty good. I'm Knuckle Mpande, taking you through till T on Ball by Ball. The man who pressed that button that made that noise was Tony Bishop.
Was indeed. Nathan Lyon dived, but the ball was pretty much already bouncing into the sponge when he started his dive. It was a dive for the cameras, I think, that one.
A little bit Jurgen Klinsmann.
Yes.
As Stark steaming in back of a length, and a little bit of movement into Joe Root perhaps, but easily played by Root. Back to the bowl, there is no run. Stark, I think his run-up has got quicker. I'm used to seeing him sort of lope in a very measured manner. Perhaps he's just trying to put a little bit more in with the pitch not being particularly helpful. Andy Ward is reading your tweets and Facebook messages and YouTube messages.
Yeah, you're talking about Joe Root's height. Height can actually be an advantage when you're playing short balls outside off stump, because if you're short you can cut, but if height you can punch and get over the ball with a straight bat, and that's what Joe Root does a bit more. And when he's playing that kind of shot, it's actually an advantage to be tall.
They do say with tall players they tend to be front foot dominant, not the case with Root. That's a full ball on leg stump where Mitchell Stark perhaps getting a little bit carried away, and it's just an easy nudge off the toes by Root down to long leg for a single. Root moves to 41, bringing Rory Burns back onto strike.
Yeah, so on Crick Tracker, the Flat Earth arguers are quoting their IQs at each other, so I'll leave you to that. Umpire Bell wants us to leave the politics and stick to the cricket. I'm going to make a point here. We're not going to labour, the pun intended, we're not going to labour politics. But if it comes up, I'm going to talk about it. And if you want to be completely isolated from it, if you want to never hear about it in these times, I'm not going to indulge you in that.
It's pretty hard to do so, even by accident, and I've tried a little bit. You have to take little periods of news breaks, I think, but just for your own sanity. But
exactly, for our own sanity. I mean, we talk about we've been talking about flat Earths and vaccines for half an hour. I mean, we do in a Test match especially. You need a bit of a break.
Stark is in a half appeal from a ball that I'm sure is sliding down leg, and Kumar Dharmasena agrees. None of the slip cordon went up with Mitchell Stark, and maybe a little hint of swing into the left-handed Rory Burns as he tried to clip it away backward of square. No interest in the appeal whatsoever. There is no run. Yeah, look, politics is going to come up, particularly in these times. I think it'd almost be I don't have the luxury of being apolitical, frankly.
No, I'll give you a few quick tweets. Jay says, according to Bill Bryson, probably not true then, the Grand Tetons were named by 2 French explorers starved of female company, so they saw tits everywhere. PJ Mead says, sorry,
last ball of Stark's 11th over is a little bit straighter, a better delivery on middle and off stump. Again, a little hint of movement. Stark is getting the tiniest bit of movement off the straight, but it's all quite easy for Burns and Root. Burns just plays that up to mid on. There is no run. England 116 for 2, trail by 381.
So PJ Mead says the Grand Tetons are in the US, famously photographed by Ansel Adams. Neymar Butlins, I like polio, always watch it in the Olympics.
Oh.
Brenton Stanton asked the Flat Earthers to explain the Coriolis effect. Yeah, that's a good one. Jay Grover, I'm just waiting for Not Fred to declare himself an anti-Bax Flat Earther. Spicy Golden Duck, the bear's gone to drop the kids off at the pool. I assume he's doing that in the woods.
Very good.
And PJ Mead's been 3.25 hours, that's very specific and very decibel, wandering along the Thames. Home now, feet up in front of the TV.
Very nice indeed. Lovely ramble on a Friday afternoon.
Jay Grover wants to see global leaders who don't make me physically weep, although it's also lovely to see left-wingers bickering between themselves. Takes me back to my A&L days, yes.
Yeah.
Student politics.
I was at the demo on Monday in Parliament Square, and Tuesday in fact, and yes, there was a lot of that going around. People arguing whether Brexit or getting the Tories out, or stopping Brexit or getting the Tories out was the more important priority.
Yes,
answer both.
Turning on each other, but the first one.
Hazelwood continuing full outside off stump and very solidly played by Joe Root on the front foot and just waiting for it to get to him and opening the face, but couldn't beat backward point. There is no run. Brothers, we must... what was that thing in Life of Brian? We are fighting with each other.
Yes, yeah. I know what you mean.
George the T-Boy says, away from politics and the fate of the earth, An important question: has Labuschagne overtaken Warner for most punchable Aussie face?
That's a bit harsh.
There's definitely something about his face that gives me itchy knuckles. Easy there, George.
That's very harsh. Hazelwood in as the sun breaks through the clouds in Old Trafford, and Root tries to break the ball through the slip cordon at Old Trafford, but cannot do so. Marcus Harris doing well, diving to his left at Gully as Root tries to run this down to the vacant third man boundary. There is no run.
One of my favourite Life of Brian scenes is Brian saying to the assembled crowd, "But you are all individuals."
Yes.
And they reply, "Yes, we are all individuals." There's thousands of
And
them
then there's a little pause, and someone says, "I'm not."
Yes. Yeah.
I did Latin at school and then classics, and so my Latin teacher was very fond of the Romani eunt domus scene.
Oh, right, yeah.
As Hazelwood in the shadows visible as the sun does its best, as Root plays this from the crease into the offside. I think that's Matthew Wade in there at short extra cover, and who fields, throws back to the keeper, and there is no run. Payne's jogging from his position behind the stumps to chat with Maria Rasmus, I think, who I think maybe has handed him Hazelwood's cap. We've got 2 slips and a gully and a backward point. That short extra cover, quite square, mid off, mid on, mid wicket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and presumably a man back at long leg as well. So a fairly orthodox field apart from that short extra. Hazelwood in, 4th ball of the over, quite close to the stumps from around the wicket. A little bit of gentle swing, but all after it past the stumps, well wide of Root's off stump. He leaves alone through to the keeper. There is no run.
Jay says the poker question he asked was a serious one. Well, I'll give you a serious answer then. I think what we see in things like cricket and bowler versus batsman, it's less poker and more rock, paper, scissors. It's more, can you pick up the pattern of when someone is going to change from a short ball to a full ball, and
the field can give you a clue.
The same thing, and you're talking about tells, which is rather a Hollywood version of poker. Tells don't actually come into it that much.
5th ball of the over, back of a length from Hazelwood. Bit of a nothing delivery, really. It didn't really do anything, and Root just blocked it into the offside field at short extra. There is no run. I mean, top level athletes are able, particularly in these sort of projectile and implement sports as like tennis or cricket or baseball, are able to pick up little physical cues off their opponents.
Well, apparently that's the only way you can return a tennis serve at the pace the top players serve at.
Or face fast bowling.
You wouldn't be able to do it if it just came out of the machine. You literally couldn't do it. You have to pick it up from the kind of angle and little, as you say,
tells.
It's the same word, it doesn't mean exactly the same thing.
This one comes in a little bit to Joe Root, and he's mildly discomforted by it as he plays it off the back foot. The thick inside shoulder of the bat takes it down to long leg. He picks up a single, moves to 42, England 117. 42. Yeah, it's those little physical cues that I think even most athletes probably aren't aware exactly. They couldn't say, when someone angles their body this way, it's going to be a wide serve or it's going to be a bouncer in fast bowling's case, but they've practiced and played against it so much that they can sort of instinctively tell before the ball's been released off the racket or released out of the hand. Kind of, they have a little bit of extra advantage because you're right. The ball's coming so fast, you can't physically see it and react to it in time.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Gus Somerville says, how long until Freddie Flintoff becomes PM on the back of his anti-geography teacher manifesto? Jay Grover says he agrees with me here. The hidden subtext of "for once" is noted. Avoiding politics is willful ignorance, which is one of the reasons we're in this state. Sakashi Hara says, sorry mates, leave means leave. Thank you for the cliche. Chris the Choir sent us an article about Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. I might have a look at that later.
Well, while you're doing that, or perhaps not, we'll have a change. We have a change of bowling as Mitchell starts out of the attack after his 4 fairly unthreatening overs and is replaced by the number 1 Test bowler in the world.
It's Patrick Cummings, no less, isn't it?
It is indeed. Big bad Pat. Still the 2 slips. Still the short extra as Cummins is in, bowling very tight to the off stump, and Root plays this off the back foot. And inside edge down to long leg. Another single.
And his baggy green cap. Early in the morning, just before the warm-up, he has to pull out with a dodgy back.
Patrick Cummins!
Yeah, so it's Hazelwood from the James Anderson end, and now Cummins from the Brian Statham end.
Alphonse the Cavalier has characterised what I said as you must think about politics all the time and agree with my opinions. Is that what I said?
I think it's impossible to completely divorce sport and politics, and actually I think it's probably not a good idea. This idea that sport and politics doesn't mix, I think, is just nonsense. And you can look through the history of sport, and that's not true. And we all try and be engaged.
The world's a
citizens.
happier place when they don't collide, though.
Sometimes, and sometimes not. I mean, sometimes you need the way to undo the effects of sport and politics mixing is to mix a different type of politics in. As Cummins is in over the wickets to Rory Burns, resuming the short ball attack perhaps, but that's way too wide of off stump for Burns to have any trouble, and through to the keeper it goes. There is no run. I mean, sport can have massive transformational political effects in a good sense. You think of the apartheid era ban on South Africa, may have contributed many decades down the line to all of that, to the dismantling of that horrific regime.
Takashi Hara won't let it go. He says the people didn't vote the way we told them to, so they have to vote again until they get it right. Well, Takashi, send your foolproof Brexit plan that doesn't damage a lot of people to Boris Johnson. I'm sure he'd appreciate it.
2 steps on the gully and a short leg, and Rory Burns hit in the stomach region as this one zips off the pitch and comes in to Burns, but Burns wears it in only a modicum of facial discomfort, and it drops down to the offside, and there is no run.
He definitely felt it, as they say.
Yeah, sort of.
He was trying not to show it too much.
Yeah, upper thigh, not straight in the Nutbush city limits as Joe Root got it earlier. But Cummins has got more zip off the pitch than any of the other Australian bowlers have managed.
Messi Jez says, speaking of Penge, am I the only person whose mind immediately goes to Rumpole of the Bailey at the very mention of Penge?
Did he live in Penge, Rumpole?
Matthew Wade's in a semi-deep short leg, quite square of the wicket. There's also a backward point in place as Rory Burns plays it to that backward point, and there is no run.
And Jay Grover says, I really like Marnus Labuschagne, and my default setting is usually punch. And Jay, of course, is from Sheffield.
Yeah, it's hard not to Marnus Labuschagne as a player, as a cricketer. I think he's been superb in this series and pretty good before this series as well.
He came across very likeably in the interviews I've seen with him as well.
Yeah, he's a good cricketer, and I tend to admire good cricketers unless I know something very unsavoury about them. Cummins is in, 5th ball of the over. That is a short ball on a better line, but too short, and Burns can duck under it through to the keeper, and there is no run. People talk a lot about the aesthetics of Steve Smith, but he is the best batsman of the modern era.
Steve Smith did say in an interview last night that he thought Marnus Labuschagne was odder than him, which I thought was kind of
that's a high bar, high praise indeed.
That may not have been his exact words, but it was definitely words to that effect.
It's a high praise indeed from Stephen Smith.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Are they still bowling short here to
we saw Cummins doing this earlier, and Hazelwood a little bit as well. Cummins in, bowls a bit fuller. That's the one that can follow up the short ball with Burns hanging back in the crease, but he played it very nicely with soft hands. Into the gully region it goes. There is no run, just the one run off the over. England 118 for 2, trail by 379. I think Burns has played the short ball very well in this innings.
He has, but I don't know that it's had the vicious, just that fraction short of a length and still climbing up rapidly.
Oh, agree.
It hasn't been the kind of wicket to quite do that.
We saw one where he was hit on the hand, but a lot of them have been much easier to get out of the way of because the bounce is quite true.
And this might be why Jofra Archer scaled his pace back, and he was dealing with the wind and the conditions.
Sure, I mean,
the other theory is he is carrying an injury, or he's pacing himself, if you'll pardon the pun.
Sure, even the very fastest didn't bowl 95 miles an hour consistently all the time. He was still absolutely up at almost 90 for quite a lot of his spell. Hazelwood's going to continue. I think has been the pick of the Australian bowlers in this innings. Bowls a full delivery, which threatens to tail into Joe Root, but he plays it solidly enough off the front foot to short extra cover. There is no run.
Messi just says no, Rumpole wasn't from Penge, but his watershed case was the Penge bungalow murders. It was all downhill after that, apparently.
Okay.
Jay says, Andy, what do you mean for once? I agree with you most of the time. Yeah, I know. We've got to the stage, I think, Jay, where we like to tweak each other's tails. A bit more politics. I'll probably let that go now by public demand. And okay, we're caught up.
Strong cross breeze blowing from leg side to off to the right-hander Joe Root as Hazelwood comes in from the James Anderson end. This one keeps a tad low and he's on the stumps, but Root plays this from the crease up to mid-on. There is no run.
It's actually nice to be doing a game where it's not quite the madness of the last session at Headingley or the World Cup final, which seemed to be, I think, the last 2 times I was in.
Or England 67 all out, which we also
that kind of thing.
Yeah, the pitch is probably not as spicy as some of the others. In fact, it's definitely not as spicy as some of the others in the series, and so a more sort of old school traditional form of Test cricket has broken out as Hazelwood is in. That's one just down the leg side and keeps a tad low on Tim Payne, but he does well diving down the leg side to take. There is no run. It's a game where discipline as a batsman can get you good rewards. We have a very interesting field now for Joe Root. Actually, we've got the 2 slips, and the sort of 4 slip is set back away at a sort of fly slip, possibly as a run saving position where Root runs it down through third man. Root doesn't play in the air through there, so it's not a catching position.
2 slips, so it must be third slip that would be the
third or slightly,
slip.
or maybe fourth as well, and the backward point and the short extra cover. Well, sort of short cover point is quite square as Hazelwood is in outside off stump, and Root plays this from the crease into the offside. The man at backward point fields. There is no run, but I'm not sure I've seen that position before. That sort of.
Well, it's sort of a deep gully to me rather than a third or fourth or a fly slip.
Yeah, but he's not there for the sort of slash in the air that you sometimes see, because Root doesn't really play that shot. I think it's a run saving position.
It probably is.
Almost short third man.
And if you're going for the drive and you edge it, then you're too far back, I would imagine, in that position.
Too fine as well. It's going to go through backward point, really, isn't it?
Is it if it's the maybe the mistimed cut?
Maybe.
But then you're better off at point for that shot.
Short ball, and Root has an age to play this and pull it away with authority square of the wicket for 4. Yeah, very comfortable for Joe Root, and he, like a lot of players, plays this slightly off the front foot and just can pivot round Ricky Ponting style and dismiss it through the vacant square leg.
Yeah, played it nicely, didn't he? Although he pivoted on his back foot, but you're right, he just took a slight step forward rather than back.
The Ricky Ponting method.
Which again suggests that the pitch is not presenting too many
40
terrors.
overs old now, the ball.
Yeah. Hazelwood, quick-ish, but certainly not express. Last ball of his 14th over is a fuller delivery, a little bit of in-swing to Joe Root, who plays this nicely between stumps and non-striker. Mitchell Stark fields at mid-on. There is no run. Root on 47, Burns on 59, England 122 for 2, trail by 375.
Evil Scooters, are we looking at a game where things are going to plod along until 4 p.m. tomorrow and then suddenly go batshit crazy, producing a result?
Maybe.
I think batshit craziness is never far away with these two teams,
no,
because one can bring 2, and
often
then
is.
And also with the pitch turning, I don't think it's going to be easy for a new player to play Nathan Lyon.
Yeah. Do we have Richard the Lionheart there? Is that
There's some Knights Templar.
They seem to be the Crusaders, I fear.
Yeah. Hopefully they can answer for their crimes at some point.
George Newman, the T-boy, says, tennis, good point on the tails. One thing that makes Federer's serve so good, even though it's not super fast, he can hit all his serves off different ball tosses. Like this is getting too technical for my knowledge of tennis, but normally right toss slice to left. But you can fool the returner if you break the pattern.
Sure. Also, Federer is incredibly accurate with his serve. He gets in a lot of free points. 2 men back on the hook and the short leg for Cummins as he's into Rory Burns. He does bowl short, and that's a good short ball, but Burns plays it well again. Gets right up on top of it, takes the bottom hand off the bat, and makes sure that the ball goes straight down. Runs to gully. There is no run. Rory Burns does a little pull away of the collar thing to say, nice ball, Pat. But very nicely played indeed by Rory Burns.
He did play that well, didn't he? Kept it.
He didn't get squared up as we saw in the analysis that was done before play started.
Jay Grover says, I know Vaughan gets grief here, but his genuine bewilderment about how any cricket fan could not appreciate Steve Smith was mint and better coming from a sportsman than a journalist. I'll touch on that in a second.
That was given a no ball, I think, by Pat Cummins. Oh, that's a good delivery. Rising one down the leg side, and Burns at the very last second managed to get his hands up and out of the way of that as it threatened the armpit and gloves. Through to Tim Payne it goes, there is no run.
Oh yeah, he does. He's 3/4 of the way into a little, trying to tickle it round the corner, isn't he? And then just at the last.
It's not even really a tickle, it's a sort of a defensive flail. Actually, it wasn't a no ball. Apologies. The Sky caption was a little bit slow in adding on Pat Cummins' first ball.
That's unusual.
Yeah, just touching on what Jay said there, I think I'll have to do it after this ball. Here comes Cummins again.
2 good short balls from Pat Cummins, much better than some of the stuff he's been serving up so far. That's the one that he hangs across off stump, trying to get Burns to do something silly after 2 short balls, but Burns doesn't do anything silly, leaves alone through to the keeper. There is no run, then walks away to square leg.
Lively enough, 89 miles an hour.
Yeah, and he's getting that zip off the pitch. It's it's one of those ones that appears to come off the pitch quicker. I say appears because the ball can't actually come off the pitch quicker than someone bowls it, but maybe it's just he's getting that wrist snap, he's getting the ball seem to rotate backwards towards him, which means that the ball kind of, rather than sort of either digging in and losing pace or just sort of kissing it, really hits it in that way where it comes off quicker than the batter expects. Cummins in back of a length, and Burns is in solidly behind this one and blocks back to the bowler. There is no run.
Yeah, going back to that Vaughan thing, I think quite often ex-players and commentators don't really understand partisanship of fans.
Which is interesting, given some of the partisanship as commentators of former players.
Right, but it's not quite the same. There's a lot of bants, but it's like when football commentators are genuinely perplexed that not every English fan wants Team X to do well in Europe. Insert the team that you
Oh,
like.
yeah.
No, I don't get excited when Abu Dhabi play in the European Championship.
Well, whatever your feeling.
Well, the over is back of a length, but that one doesn't get up that much, and Rory Burns can easily tuck this away into the leg side. The man comes in from square leg. Marnus Labuschagne keeps them to a single. Burns moves to 60.
Again, the actual surprise when it's made apparent that, for example, a Liverpool fan doesn't want Manchester United to do well in Europe is just being completely out of touch. You may be right, you may be wrong, but you have to realise that it exists.
Yeah, I think by and large I can park that when it comes to close to finals and things.
Chris TB says, I'd like to see the batshit crazy part happen a bit sooner than that. So that's Test cricket for you.
Well, I think from an England perspective, we're not in a hurry to see it because it would mean things aren't going well if it does happen.
Root on 47 facing up to Pat Cummins. That's outside off stump, and Root leaves alone through to the keeper. There is no run. An interesting over from Cummins, but quite nicely played by Burns, and then off Root for that last ball. England 123 for 2, trail by 374. We've had another patron. Devin Flores has become a patron. Welcome, Devin.
Wonderful, thank you.
And the T-boy. Sorry, go on, Tony.
I just said they're rolling in.
Yeah, we've had 2 just today.
The patrons, that is.
And we have a change of bowling at the other end. So Nathan Lyon has switched ends, I think. He's now bowling from the Brian Statham end, where he had been bowling from the James Anderson end. And it is the spinner. It is the goat. Oh no, I tell a lie, he is bowling at the James Anderson end because Hazelwood replaced him and now he's replaced Anderson. Hazelwood even.
And the T-boy talking about Marnus Labuschagne says he does seem absolutely lovely. It's just a visual thing. It's probably just that he looks like someone who used to bully me at school or something.
he does have a strange facial tick that when he's facing and really concentrating, he snarls. He sort of curls his lip. Next time you see him bat, look out for that. It's very strange when you see his face close up. He's almost like doing a sort of an Elvis Presley lift of one side of his
Billy Idol.
Of his mouth. Yes, a Billy Idol. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Thank you. It's a Billy Idol.
Rory Burns facing up to Nathan Lyon. Slip and a gully in place for the one that turns away from Rory Burns, and that one turned sharply and bounced. Rory Burns did well not to follow that with his hands. Payne spills it, but that one turned sharply and not out of the footmarks at all. Lovely delivery by Lyon, turning from middle stump to way outside off. I think Burns would have been quite lucky to edge that, frankly. If you can get that a little bit fuller, that's a seriously dangerous delivery. This one is short and very authoritatively cut away by Rory Burns in front of square through a big gap in the covers. Travis Head fields out there on the cover boundary. They do have the sweeper in place and Rory Burns comes back for 2. Burns has been very quick to pick up on anything short.
He has, but I'm actually going to question or have a look at this. He doesn't get over this. He does fall off the cut a little bit.
Yeah, a little
so
bit.
I'm not
It's in a
calling
massive
that
gap.
authoritative. Because you really want to bang that cut shot down.
Sure, it wasn't a huge gap though.
Yeah, fair enough. Fuku Life says if there's not much in it for the bowlers, could we call this pitch a flat earther?
That brings up the 100 partnership. We have 2 slips in the gully, a man back at short third man, a man back on the cover boundary, a backward point mid-off. That's the offside field as Lyon is in and bowls a very full delivery which drifts into the pads of Rory Burns. He plays this back to the bowler. There is no run.
And for numerologists, before that ball, both batsmen contributing 47 runs off 102 balls in this partnership.
So they've been basically trucking along. Oh, it's beach
another
ball time.
beach ball.
As a steward wearily gives it back to the people who allowed that to escape onto the field of play.
This wasn't a
This is a
watermelon,
little
though.
bit flatter from Lyon. Burns on the back foot, plays back to the bowler. There is no run. Probably 2 overs to go after this until the tea interval.
You're never going to beat the beach ball that scored a goal for Sunderland.
No, that was a
Poor
fair effort,
Pepe
wasn't it?
Reina as Nathan Lyon in 5th ball of the over. A full delivery which drifts into the pads of Burns, and he plays this pleasantly, but into the leg side. Into the leg side, but can't beat short mid wicket. There is no run.
Yeah, I think it was the 3rd top scorer for Sunderland that year.
Yeah,
And it was thrown onto the pitch by a Liverpool fan. Sorry. The short mid wicket's going out now for reasons I can't quite explain, because I can't quite see why you'd want to give Burns a single unless it's to have him be peppered by Cummins at the other end. But this is too short, and Burns on the back foot cuts away to point. There is no run, so the plan didn't work in any case. Decent over by Lyon, a very decent over indeed, just the 2 runs off it. England 125 for 2, trail by 372.
And as Jay says, we probably were confusing our Knights Templars with our Crusaders, because the Knights Templars had their order dissolved, their leaders burnt alive, and all their wealth nicked by the church, although he says he might have missed the point as he was half listening while having a piss.
I know Middlesex changed their name, their T20 name, as it were, or limited it a while ago, quite a while ago now, from the Middlesex Crusaders to become the Panthers.
To become the Sex Panthers, the Middle Sex Panthers.
The Middlesex Panthers, yes. The reason being that they felt that in such a mixed race neighbourhood, they would it was politically
It would be
on dicey
it would
ground
just
to be Crusaders.
Yeah, no, I think that's I'm totally all with that.
Cummins continuing a good delivery which zips past the outside edge of Joe Root, who more or less plays inside the line. There was a little bit of handsiness as he pushed at it, but beat the outside edge by a distance, rocketed through to Tim Payne, who takes it above his head. There is no run. Of course, we do still have a lot of slightly dubious names around the world of sport. In rugby you have Saracens, and there's a number of sports teams in America who have dubious Native American names.
Sure.
Well, when I lived in St
Redskins,
John's Wood, the
yeah.
pub literally just around the corner from me was the Knights of St John. Wasn't my favoured watering hole, not
That's
because of the
probably
name,
going to
but-
enrage everybody on Crick Tracker again, so crack on, guys.
Waddle Cummins follow that up with Root on 47, back of a length, and Root plays this pretty nicely off the back foot up to mid-on. There is no run. Touching 90 miles an hour, Pat Cummins. Now he's been very consistently at 90 miles an hour or so throughout the series. We have two slips.
I quite like this. Lou Britt in sack. Talking about European football, have you seen the Oxford United away strip? A thing of beauty. And I was going to say that's not European, but technically it is.
Well, technically, absolutely it is. Thank goodness. For now.
I was playing poker and not Fred was on the table. I said something about not having played any tournaments in Europe, and he said, "You're in Europe now."
Third ball of the over, Cummins in a little bit fuller. Root drops this into the offside, wants a single, but with two men very close to each other at gully and backward point, they weren't going to get one, and there is no run. In fact, I think there might be two gullies in place as the backward point as well. So Australia trying to do things to stop Root scoring square of the behind square on the offside. That sort of deep gully thing is not in position. No, Lions move round to be a sort of second gully, I guess. He's much finer than a backward point would be. But Warner at first slip, Smith at second slip, Harris at regular gully, Lyon at sort of, I'm not quite sure what you call that position, wide gully, I guess. Marnus Labuschagne at short recover.
Deepish backward point.
Yeah, and then Matthew Wade at mid-off. Backward squared point. A beauty from Cummins. Draws Root forward to a delivery he couldn't drive at and beats the outside edge. This has been an excellent spell from Pat Cummins as we get in towards tee. Root misses beaten, comfortably beaten on the outside edge.
Mrs.
To the
Beaton.
keeper it goes. There is no
You're going to give us some cookery lessons now from Mrs. Beaton.
Evil Scooter's talking about the game going batshit. Yeah, we've lost a lot of this game already, so I'm trying to adjust forwards to the point where the switch to minefield gets flipped.
Deep square leg has come into shortish mid-wicket. That's Travis Head. And there's a mid on, and I think a man back on the hook as well. Can't quite see. This again beats Root on the outside edge. I think that time he definitely did withdraw the bat in Marcus Trescothick curtain rail style, but nevertheless a good delivery which zipped off the wicket and perhaps just held its line a little bit from Cummins. It's been very good from Cummins, but Root has crucially missed every single one of them. There is no run.
Searching. It's been a searching over, hasn't it?
Yeah, and to go with the good short balls he was bowling at Rory Burns in the over before.
I think England will be quite glad of tea, because just this last 10 minutes has looked a bit more threatening than anything we've seen for a while.
Well, I think you've got a combination of factors. You've got England thinking about tea, and you've got Australia knowing they can have a little breather in a minute and giving it everything they've got.
Cummins in, last ball of what will be his last over before tea. That's too wide of off stump, though it does fly through to Tim Payne. Joe Root doesn't have to do anything at all with it. Through to the keeper it goes, there is no run. Root is desperate that was going to be the last over before tea, but I'm not sure he's quite got there in time.
I think they are all walking. Are they all walking back
They
tea
are,
time?
yeah.
Are they, or is Payne trying to walk to the other end? No, I think that is tea.
It is tea.
And yeah, a pretty good session for England, you have to say. What were they, 20 for 1? 23 for 1.
Well, just the 1 wicket lost is the most important thing.
Yeah, and that too, the night watchman Craig Overton. So that's, I think, 98 runs in the session. 102 runs in the session, in fact, for England. I added the 2 the wrong way for some reason. Yeah, very good session indeed for England.
If you'd have offered them this at the beginning of play,
they would have loved it.
They would have bitten your hand off. You're only going to lose 1 wicket, and it'll be the night watchman. Will you take that? Doesn't matter how many runs are on the board. They would have gone, yes, please.
Yeah, Denley went for 4 off 24 last night. Slightly unlucky with a good chore from Cummins, which came off the inside edge onto pad, off Matthew Wade's body, and then was very well caught on the rebound by Wade. And Craig Overton caught behind off the bowling of Pat Cummins, bowling of Josh Hazelwood this morning for 5 quite early, but Rory Burns is on 62 off 137 balls with 7 boundaries. He's done very well in against a barrage of short bowling and some searching stuff from Nathan Lyon as well. And Joe Root's on 47 off 108, just a little bit discomforted by Pat Cummins in that last over or so, and a little bit from Lyon early in his innings, but with his 7-4s as well, he's been pretty solid. These two have put on, what do they put on for this wicket? 100
almost
precisely.
100 exactly.
100 precisely at 2.81 runs for over. England 125 for 2 with 2 days and a session to go, trailing by 372. And I think they'll be very pleased with their afternoon's work.
CricViz, the latest from CricViz is at the start of the session, Australia had a 65% chance of victory. As it stands now, they have a 45% chance. That suggests that England, whilst there's still huge amounts of work to do, are definitely moving things in the right direction.
I suspect the draw is probably...
There's no doubt about that, yeah. That's what CricViz says. Crick Tracker's giving us a history lesson, telling us the Crusaders were fighting in a war against invading Muslims. The Crusades that famously took place in Britain.
Yes, invading Muslims.
Right, anyway,
in Jerusalem.
Let us put on some highlights. Where do I go, though, to do that now? I might have to leave that to you, mate.
Yes.
Let's do that. And we will see you after tea, which is only 20 minutes, so don't go too far.
Yes, indeed. And it will be just us 3 until the bear gets back. I'll run you through the bowling figures while I try and find some highlights for you, which you can while away the minutes between between the end of the afternoon session and the start of the evening session. So just bear with us 1 second. Mitchell Stark, 11 overs, 5 maidens, none for 41. At least 2 of those maidens were completely wasted. He didn't bowl. He's not bowling quite at his best in this session. Or in this day of Test cricket. Josh Hazelwood, for me, the pick of the bowlers for most of the day. 14 in overs, 2 maidens, 1 for 31. Pat Cummins was excellent in that latest spell and has the figures of 10 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 17. Nathan Lyon causing a little bit of trouble with his off spin out of the rough and turning the ball off the straight as well. He has figures of 12 overs, 2 mains, none for 31. There were 5 leg byes and 2 no balls. We're going to give you a little bit of a one-day international between Pakistan and Australia from some time ago. I think back in the autumn of 2014. So have a listen to that and join us again for the evening session.
first one-day international between Pakistan and Australia at